Eva, born from an ice mage and a wolf girl, is happy to find another sprout. Their family survives by selling medicinal herbs, which she collects from the snowy fields. Suddenly, the girl freezes in fear, noticing a small group of boys from the wolf clan. One of the boys hears a noise behind him and turns around sharply, looking at Eva. Attracting the attention of his interlocutors, the boy invites them to look at such a strange creature. The purebred wolves constantly insult the girl and treat her cruelly. The wolves shout at Eva to get out of here and throw a snowball at her, which hits her right on the head. Blood appears on Eva's forehead, and the boys laugh and call her a half-breed. The wolves' disdain for half-breeds stings the girl more than the frosty winds of the northern lands. One of the wolves looms over Eva and asks if she is going to answer him. Suddenly, Eva notices that the boy is trampling the herbs that she was collecting for her pregnant mother. Extending his hand to the girl, the wolf asks if her legs are giving out from fear. Eva tries to protect herself from another blow, and at that moment, everything inside her begins to boil with rage. The wolves freeze in amazement when they see the ice flow in Eva's hands and realize that this is ice magic. The boy approaches Eva in a rage and asks how the mudblood dared to raise her hand against them. The girl screams in despair for the wolf not to come near her. Otherwise, this ice flow will pierce him right through. The wolves begin to laugh, wondering how the girl could think that they would be afraid of ice magic in lands where it is everywhere. The boy pushes Eva sharply, saying that now he will show her where her place is. The girl hits the tree with force, and at that moment, an image unknown to her flashed through her head. Eva remembers a cute human girl leaving a bookstore. The girl, in confusion, realizes that this girl is herself and remembers the novel that she loved to read. The main character of the book, Little Red Riding Hood, was the leader of the half-breed dragons. During the war with the wolves, the heroine met a half-breed wolf who begged her to save him. The young man desperately wanted to bring his murdered older sister back to life. Little Red Riding Hood really liked the half-breed wolf and decided to make him her own. Eva was engrossed in the novel because it was exactly the story she wanted to read. At some point, the girl closed her eyes tightly and whispered that she wanted to see all this in reality. Eva presses her hands to her head in despair, unable to believe what is happening. The girl understands that her wish has come true, and she has been reborn in this novel. Suddenly, Eva realizes that since this is Little Red Riding Hood's world, she must behave accordingly. The wolf looms over the girl and asks with a grin if her brains are back in place now. Eva understands that fools need to be taught a lesson and forcefully pushes the boy with her shoulder. The girl starts running, and the discouraged wolves just look after her. Eva runs as fast as she can, thinking that the author of all this is a real madman. But on the other hand, the heroine reflects. She herself wanted to see everything for real. Eva's mother looks out the window, waiting for her daughter to finally return home. The woman strokes her stomach and says that until her sister returns, they won't see a warm dinner. On the way home, Eva reflects that if she understood everything correctly, then her unborn brother Zion is the main character of the novel. In the book, humans lived together with half-breeds, and half-wolves and half-dragons had a strong hatred for each other. The feud began when a wolf stole the heart of the head of the dragons. Having lost the heart she wanted to give to her lover, the leader died because she could not control her power due to anger and grief. According to legend, Little Red Riding Hood's brother also had one heart and eventually died because he was unable to control his power. Little Red Riding Hood blamed the wolves for her brother's death and carried out a purge in the north. In this novel, Eva was the protagonist's sister, who was stabbed to death by Little Red Riding Hood. Grabbing an axe, Eva reflects that she already had a difficult childhood, so will the end be joyless. As she deals powerful blows, the girl realizes that she needs to get out of here no matter what happens. Wiping the sweat from her forehead, Eva thinks that she doesn't want to die like a dog. Suddenly, the door opens. The mother comes out of the house and asks what strange sounds are being heard. The girl points to a hole in the wall and says that wolves damage their house. The woman covers her mouth in horror when she hears that the wolves have promised to kill them if they don't leave. Eva decides that she must at all costs prevent the main characters from meeting, so she will have to lie to her mother a little. The woman assures that she will take care of her daughter, and to do this they need to go deep into the forest. Looking at her brother, born on the same day, Eva thinks that someone clearly laughed at her plans. After the birth of the child, the girl's mother became much worse. She couldn't even get out of bed. Eva despairs at the thought that there was no wolf nearby who could have helped the half-breed give birth. The mother tells her daughter that good things happen to good children, so instead of hitting, she should be kind. The woman closes her eyes tiredly and whispers that she is very sorry that everything turned out this way. Sitting at the bedside of her dead mother and listening to the cries of her newborn brother, Eva understands that this is now her reality. After many years of living deep in the forest, Eva one day came across an unconscious girl. Looking at the baby, the girl does not understand what a child could be doing alone in the forest. Eva decides to leave, but suddenly notices that the girl has a high fever. The girl is tossing and turning, but convinces herself that someone else will find the child and help her. Suddenly, the girl's mother's words sound in her head, saying that good things happen to good children. Eva carries the child onto her shoulders and carries her home, not understanding what consequences this will lead to. Zion runs out to meet his sister, telling her that he was playing alone and no strangers came. Eva gently strokes her brother's head, saying that he is a great boy. Hanging her coat on a hanger, the girl asks if their guest has woken up. Zion notices that the girl has been sleeping for a very long time. Probably she hasn't rested yet. Looking at the child, Eva thinks with doubt that 3 days have already passed, and there are no changes. The sister notes that it is probably the heat and asks her brother to bring cold water and a towel. Eva reflects that even the best herbs did not help, but given their circumstances, they cannot go to the doctor. Laying her head on the bed, the girl wonders if she did the right thing by bringing the stranger home. Taking the girl by the hand, Eva realizes that she could not leave her alone in danger in the forest. By calling upon ice magic, the girl asks for forgiveness for the fact that she can no longer help in any way. Suddenly, Eva hears the girl begin to come to her senses and asks in fear if she has a headache. Looking into the child's opened eyes, the girl notices that they are red as rubies. Suddenly, Eva jumps up sharply. In this world, only one race has red eyes. Zion returns to the room and looks at his sister's worried face with surprise. The girl sits up on the bed, and Eva intuitively hides her brother behind her back. Looking at the guest, Eva understands that in front of her is the same Little Red Riding Hood, who will kill her and take Zion. In the novel, Little Red Riding Hood once asked a young man who she was to him. Zion, crying pitifully, replied that the girl was his patroness, and at that very moment the girl, taking Eva by the hand, said the same words. Taking her hand back, the girl declares that calling her a patroness is somehow too much. Eva cannot understand. If it really is Little Red Riding Hood in front of her, then why she ended up in the north so early. In the original story, the meeting between the girl and Zion took place when they were already adults. Looking at the uninvited guest, the girl thinks that the course of events has clearly changed. The boy tugs at his sister, and she whispers to him that he doesn't need to show himself yet. Zion looks at his sister pitifully and asks if he can talk to the girl later. Eva despairs and thinks that if the heroes meet right now, everything will end the same way as in the original story. Eva tells her brother that the guest might be scared, and therefore he should wait outside the door. The girl politely apologizes for not being able to thank her savior earlier. Eva waves her hands in embarrassment and says that it's all nonsense, and anyone in her place would have done the same. The girl notices that the guest does not look dangerous, but this may be because she is still a child. Eva is confident that if the children do not meet, her plan will continue to be implemented. For safety's sake, the girl wants to get into the human world, but the intermediaries will only help those whose identity is known. No one will let in poor commoners. In any world, nothing is impossible for those who have money. Therefore, Eva's ambitious goal is to buy a castle with Zion and move to the human world. That is why the girl memorized the book on medicinal herbs left by her father. Eva stubbornly saved money, earning money by selling valuable herbs. However, no one could have predicted that events would be mixed up. If Eva returned Little Red Riding Hood home safe, then only time would separate her from a happy ending. While the girl is dreaming, the girl asks for forgiveness for the question, but she has absolutely no idea where she is or who she is. Eva looks at her guest in amazement, at first not understanding what she is talking about. The girl presses her hand to her face and quietly admits that she doesn't remember anything. Eva falls to the floor and asks the holy heavens how this could have happened. The girl looks at the girl seriously and asks if she is serious about all this. The guest admits that all she remembers is that it was very hot. Eva thinks that something happened to the girl before she lost consciousness, and that is probably why she lost her memory. You could use information from the novel and say that she is Rachel, a dragon warrior who controls fire. You can also tell that Rachel's brother is the ruler of the South, and now she can return home. Realizing that Eva can't tell everything as it is, and that this means that she herself will have to take the girl to the South. With despair, the girl understands that for a wolf to venture into the southern lands would be akin to suicide. Seeing that Eva is very embarrassed, Rachel apologizes for not having anything to repay her kindness with. The girl waves her hands, assuring that there is no need to pay, but she herself thinks that it would be enough for the guest to return home. Suddenly, Rachel jumps up in bed and passionately insists that she really wants to thank her savior. The girl states that if Eva doesn't mind, then until her memory returns, she would like to stay here. Eva is stunned, as if she can hear her plan being carried away into the distance, and her life is rolling into a pit of poverty. Having waited for his companion to come running, the man asks whether they found the fugitive or not. The man throws off his hood and, with flashing red eyes, declares that if she is not found immediately, their heads will be cut off. Knowing their leader, the pursuers immediately scatter in different directions. At the square, Eva asks Rachel not to call her patroness, but simply sister. When the girl asks where they are going, Eva explains that they need to see a doctor for an examination. Rachel asks in surprise why they need to hide their faces, and the girl evasively says that they might catch a cold in such cold. Suddenly, a young man appears on the companion's path and greets Eva, calling her Ev. There is a secret alley near the square, and Eva often comes there and sells rare herbs, pretending to be a man. The man examines the latest collection and notes that these are indeed rare herbs and asks how much Ev will sell them for. To the guy's amazement, Eva announces the price of 10 gold bars, since the herb is quite rare. After listening to the indignation, the girl notes that there is one way to buy grass cheaper. Eva puts her arm around Rachel's shoulders and asks the man to examine her. The guy rubs his chin thoughtfully, while Eva explains that this is her little sister. Seeing the man's hesitation, Eva asks him to simply examine the child, since he is a doctor after all. The doctor squats down in front of Rachel and asks her name, noting that the girl is very thin. Eva talks about what happened and notices that the girl still doesn't feel well. The doctor says that the consequences of the injury can be serious. Usually the memory returns after a few days, but it can be different. The doctor throws up his hands and says that without details about the incident, it is difficult for him to say anything. Rachel hides behind Eva, and the man adds that the girl's body temperature is extremely high. Eva says sheepishly that the girl had a fever a couple of days ago, and it must not have gone down yet. Suddenly, the doctor looks closely at the girl and says that a child has gone missing in the southern region. After a short silence, the man adds that this child is the younger sister of the southern captain. Eva flinches sharply, wondering if the man had somehow figured out who Rachel was. Unable to come up with anything better, the girl suddenly raises her hand and says that she knows about the relationship between the North and the South, because she is also a wolf. Surprised by such a violent reaction, the doctor says that he does not know what Ev is planning, but he should be careful. The man leaves. Eva breathes a sigh of relief and realizes that Rachel needs to be returned to where she belongs. The girl is afraid that if things continue like this, the dragons will simply kill her. Eva remarks that it's time for them to go home and asks what Rachel would like to have for lunch. The girl quite sweetly replies that she doesn't care, as long as it's cooked by her sister. On the way, the girl thinks that it is too early to give up, because Rachel will not kill her patroness. Coming out of the alley, the girl notices a tent with various souvenirs and asks what they sell there. Eva explains that the tent sells dream catchers, which help catch nightmares. The girl recalls that according to the plot, having lost her only brother, Little Red Riding Hood could never sleep peacefully again. As soon as the heroine closed her eyes, the same nightmare immediately began to torment her. Only after meeting Zion was Little Red Riding Hood able to overcome her pain and suffering. Eva asks if Rachel wants such a catcher. The girl starts to refuse, but her sister tells her to wait for her. A few minutes later, the girl hands the guest a souvenir and assures her that from now on, she will only have good dreams. Rachel, touched by such concern, hugs the gift to her chest and sincerely thanks Eva. In this turbulent time, Eva, without realizing it, became the savior of the heroine who must eventually kill her. A few days later, the girl opens the door and loudly announces that she is back. The children, who had been playing calmly until then, joyfully raise their eyes and greet their sister. The boys hug Eva, and Rachel asks how many herbs her sister sold today. Zion, with his hair in pigtails, says he can now help Eva braid her hair. The girl leans towards her brother and quietly asks if he showed the girl his ears. The boy shakes his head, and Eva understands that Rachel doesn't suspect anything yet, but the very thought of it causes alarm. When the girl decided to take Rachel in, she gave her the name Ruby. Afraid to show her knowledge, Eva asks the children to clean up while she cooks dinner, and the children happily run off. Seeing Ruby and Zion interacting, the girl is happy that they got along so well. Looking at the girl, Eva cannot stop admiring her stunning ruby eyes. With Ruby's arrival, there have been some interesting changes in Eva's house. Sitting at the set table, Ruby reaches out and asks her sister to touch it. Actively working with a spoon, Zion looks thoughtfully at the sisters, not understanding what is happening. The boy asks in surprise why only Ruby eats cold food. One day, Eva placed a plate of hot soup in front of Ruby, because wolves, living in the cold, gravitate towards any warmth. Seeing the confusion on the girl's face, Eva says that she is obviously tired of eating the same thing for 3 days in a row. Seeing the sad expression on her sister's face, Ruby quickly ate everything. However, the heat of the food, combined with Ruby's high body temperature, and the girl fell ill that same night. Sitting by her sister's bedside, Eva sadly thinks that she could have guessed earlier that the fire element in dragons is very fierce. Putting her hand to her forehead, the girl calls upon ice magic, not knowing how else she could help. Luckily, exposure to cold during the day cooled Ruby down, and she recovered quickly. Eva explains that her sister's fever has not yet gone down, so for now she can only eat cold food. The girl gently strokes the girl's head, wishing her a pleasant meal. Zion looks at his sister jealously and asks why she forgot about him. Eva laughs and strokes her brother's cheek and wishes him bon appétit. Early in the morning, the girl does not have time to leave the house, as she is stopped by sleepy Ruby. The girl asks her sister to sleep with her, but Eva assures her that she will return soon. The girl explains that if she doesn't go to the market, she won't be able to earn money. Eva sheepishly says that she needs a lot of money, and Ruby asks in surprise what for. Realizing that she can't tell the truth, the girl replies that she wants to move to a better place with Zion. After a moment of silence, Ruby begins frantically searching for something in the folds of her nightgown. The girl holds out her hand, on which lies an obviously expensive ring, and says that she found it in the forest. The girl gives the ring and asks for forgiveness for leaving the house without permission. Ava looks at Ruby with concern, wondering what might have happened if she had met the wolves. The girl assures Ruby that if she walks alone, she might be attacked. Looking at the girl's sad face, Ava doesn't understand how one can resist her. Eva raises her finger and says that she will return early today, and they will all play snowballs together. Seeing Ruby's joy, the girl says that it is still very early, and she should go back to bed. As she leaves, Eva says that she will keep the ring that Ruby gave her. Eva leaves, and Ruby, approaching the fireplace, thinks about the fact that she hinted quite transparently about selling the ring. The girl lights a fire in the fireplace with a wave of her hand and reasons that excessive stupidity is also a sin. A few days ago, Rachel fell ill in her castle in the southern region. The governess sadly says that the girl has an idiopathic disease that causes fever, and no matter how many treatments they have tried, nothing helps. A man clenches his fists in despair after hearing that he needs to prepare for the worst. The brother can't believe that his little sister also inherited this disease. Suddenly, the man is engulfed in flames and clutches his throat in horror. The woman runs up to the captain and tells him that he needs to control his inner element or they will both be in danger. Suddenly, the brother hears his sister's voice and comes to the bed, asking how she feels. Reaching out to each other, the captain realizes that the growing fire element within Rachel will become a threat to both of them. The man suddenly hides his hand behind his back and says that he did not expect the girl to faint so suddenly. The girl sits up in bed, upset by her brother's reaction, and he asks if she's really okay. Rachel has tears streaming down her cheeks, but she insists it was just a nightmare. From that day on, the legend that dragons have only one heart spread throughout the city. Rachel decided that all the stories were connected with her brother, and she insisted that she would save him at all costs. One day, the man found a note in his sister's room, in which she said that she needed to leave the castle. It was only weeks later that it became known that Rachel had gone north. One of the subjects informs the captain that a similar girl was seen in the square. The man asks again if the soldier is sure of the information, and he adds that the girl was with a stranger who hid his face. The soldier goes on to say that according to eyewitnesses, the stranger bought Rachel a dream catcher. The captain is furious and says that the stranger hopes to lure his sister with some trinket. This is simply unheard of impudence. Turning around abruptly, the man declares that he will personally go in search of his sister. The captain is completely indignant that some mangy wolf dared to touch his sister. Ava walks tiredly down the alley, thinking that the children must be waiting for her home. Suddenly, a man stops the girl and asks if she's selling anything interesting today. Ava looks at the stranger and realizes that he is yet another drug addict. The girl has never gotten involved in shady business, so she categorically tells the man to leave. The man is not going to give up just like that and tries to stop the girl. Suddenly, the stranger points to the ring on Eva's neck, remarks that it is expensive, and asks to sell it. Eva tries to get rid of the drug addict by claiming that the ring is worth 50 million gold bars. The man begins to get noticeably angry and asks if the seller really despises him. Realizing that the stranger will not leave her alone, Ava raises her hand and releases her magic. An icy stream pierces the addict's head, causing severe pain. The girl had no intention of getting into a fight and was only thinking about how to quickly get home to her children. Turning around, Ava declares that the ring is priceless to her, so she would not sell it even for such a huge sum. As she heads home, the girl reflects that she will give Rachel the ring upon her return, as she does not believe that she simply found it. Eva reflects that the dragon captain has not yet found his sister, and she was sure that this would happen much sooner. They say that the captain loves his sister very much, so the girl was confident that the search would not take much time. Although, the girl reflects with a smile, their house is not so easy to find, since it is hidden deep in the forest. Suddenly, Eva realizes that if you look from the outside, she looks like a real kidnapper. Suddenly, the girl freezes, hearing strange sounds behind her, and realizes that someone is following her. As Eva rummages through her basket, she reflects that she shouldn't underestimate her pursuer if he was able to track her through the forest. Taking out an apple and turning it into ice, the girl loudly says that she knows about the pursuit and orders the enemy to come out. The children are sitting in the house. Rachel is diligently writing something at the table, and Zion is playing with toys. Suddenly, the girl notices that the boy is shivering and does not understand why he is constantly cold. Deciding that the fire needs to be turned up a notch, Rachel waves her hand, and the flames flare up with renewed vigor. Suddenly, the girl freezes, experiencing a very familiar but very disturbing feeling. Rachel quickly heads for the door, but Zion reminds her that Eva doesn't allow them to go outside alone. Turning around sharply, Rachel shouts that there is no point in remaining obedient in a situation like this. The girl opens the door and declares that they simply must save their sister. Eva listens to the silence, not understanding who could be following her. At first, the girl thought that Rachel's brother was chasing her, but then she came to the conclusion that the dragons would have shown up right away. Eva remembers her meeting with the doctor and wonders with irritation whether he really gave them over to the wolves. Hearing another rustle in the bushes, the girl throws an icy apple there with all her might, and, from the dull thud, understands that she has hit the target. No one showed up, so Eva once again demands that the stranger show himself and explain what he wants. Suddenly, the girl sees a lot of red eyes. She expected that one or two people were chasing her, but there were many more of them. In despair, Eva looks at her enemies and realizes that she cannot cope alone. Suddenly, something happens, and the whole space around Eva starts to burst into flames. The girl remembers that in the original story, Rachel committed a massacre and burned their house to the ground. Eva is sure that everything that is happening is the girl's doing. So did she really attack because of the apple hit? Suddenly, a handsome man emerges from the bushes and, holding out his hand to Eva, asks where she is hiding his sister. The girl tries to explain everything, but the heat is so strong that she is suffocating and cannot utter a word. The man looks at the girl with hatred and tells her to stop acting like a fool. Gasping for breath, Eva tries to say that she did nothing wrong. The captain says he has no mercy to listen to all this nonsense. Eva clenches her teeth in rage, realizing that this is too much, not even giving her a chance to explain. Suddenly, the girl rushes at the man, grabs his hands using ice magic, and screams that he must listen to her. Suddenly, the flames raging around suddenly die down, and the shocked man asks Eva who she is. The exhausted girl lets go of the man's hands, trying to tell him about her sister. Squeezing the captain's shoulder, Eva states that she was trying to take care of Rachel. In despair, the girl screams that no amount of money will be enough to repay her for her kindness. Suddenly, Eva loses consciousness, and the captain only manages to catch her at the last moment. The man tries to bring the girl to her senses, when suddenly, a voice is heard behind him calling for his sister. Turning around, the captain sees Rachel approaching them, her fists clenched in rage. The girl screams that he is a real villain, since he dared to offend her sister. After some time, Eva opens her eyes and realizes that she is at home, and everything that happened was obviously a dream. The girl remembers that Rachel shouted something and then ran towards her, but she could not make out the words. Eva remembers the stunned face of the captain, who looked at his sister in amazement. Eva sits up abruptly in bed, realizing that all this was not a dream, but that there really was that crazy dragon. Suddenly, children run into the room and run as fast as they can towards their sister, intending to hug her. The guys are interested in the girl's condition, and she asks if they really haven't left her side all this time. Gently stroking the children's cheeks, Eva thanks them for such sincere care for her. Zion starts to whine and admits that he was very scared because he thought his sister was dead. Eva hugs the children close to her, almost bursting into tears when she sees such anxiety on their faces. Suddenly, Zion announces that his brother has gone away for a short time, but will be back soon. The girl suddenly moves away, realizing that they are talking about Little Red Riding Hood's older brother. The girl recalls that as soon as she touched the captain's hand, she felt as if all the energy had been sucked out of her. Suddenly, the girl begins to feel her head and back, fearing that her ears and tail might have appeared. Suddenly, the front door creaks open, and the captain notices that it is of simply terrible quality. The moment Eva and the captain's gaze met, she was speechless. The man presses his hand to his chest and says that he is glad that Eva has finally woken up. Eva looks at the captain in surprise. She couldn't even imagine how cute he would be. The company sits at the table. Everyone is silent, and the children cling to the girl in fear. The captain says his name is Noel Ramier, and he has many questions for Eva. With a sigh, Noel says that first of all, he must apologize for what happened in the forest. The girl thinks that the captain is more polite and kind than she thought. It seems that she knows nothing at all about dragons. Looking at Zion, Eva understands the reasons why Noel attacked her. If she were in Ramier's place, she would have simply gone mad with worry for her brother. However, the girl thinks that this was too much, and it would not be a bad idea to demand compensation for all the troubles caused. But looking at her interlocutor, Eva suddenly thinks that he himself would be a good compensation. The captain turns to the girl and asks if she is feeling well, as she has a strange expression on her face. Eva becomes very embarrassed, starts coughing, and insists that she is completely fine. The girl asks what happened, and Noel apologizes for explaining everything so late. The girl is amazed to hear Noel say that he is the older brother of Rachel, who suddenly disappeared. Suddenly, the man turns to the girl and asks in bewilderment why she is pretending that they don't know each other. Rachel rushes to Eva and screams that this man is very strange and for some reason calls her sister. The girl, turning to Noel, notes that the girl denies everything, and she cannot help but believe her. The captain is incredibly surprised, and all he can say is that he is not lying. Suddenly, the man extends his hand and asks Rachel to give him her hand. The girl hesitates, and Eva asks her not to be afraid and to do as Noel asks. When Rachel's hand is placed over the captain's, a flame erupts between them, and Noel says that this is proof of their relationship. Suddenly, the girl jerks her hand away and screams loudly in fear. Rachel hugs Eva tightly and says that she is very scared because fire came out of her hand. Zion, who had been watching this scene, suddenly calls out to the girl, clearly about to say something. Eva asks affectionately if her brother was also afraid of the small flame. Suddenly, Rachel grabs Eva's face and turns it towards her, clearly distracting her attention. Zion looks at his sister in confusion, and Rachel asks him to take her hand too. Noel watches the scene unfold in complete bewilderment. The captain presses his hand to his forehead in exhaustion, not understanding what is happening to his sister. Stroking Rachel's back, Eva gently asks if she is feeling better. The girl assures that she is fine and looks at her brother with a grin. Eva asks in surprise why Rachel still hasn't remembered anything. Looking at Noel, the girl understands with pity that he is still a villain for his sister. Eva asks the captain not to be upset, explaining that when she found Rachel, she no longer remembered anything. The girl told the captain the whole story from the very beginning, which noticeably puzzled him. Having pulled himself together and calmed down, the captain asks if everything is okay with Eva herself. The man repentantly says that he needed to put out the fire, but he has problems doing so. In the novel, Noel was described as having extraordinary magic, and he could control the raging flames with only one heart. However, this also meant that it was difficult for him to overcome his own emotions and control his powers. One day, the flames will grow and get out of control, putting the captain's life in danger. The most amazing thing is that Eva was able to put out the fire, which was difficult for the dragon to control. The girl wonders if this happened because she has the ability to freeze. But if this is really the case, then there are many mages whose powers exceed Eve's. The girl asks directly whether it is her abilities that are the issue, and notes that there are many wolves in the north that possess similar strength. Noel flinches sharply and asks if the girl's words mean that she is a wolf. Sighing, Eva says that it was just a guess and nothing more. The girl understands that she cannot tell the truth, because all this will turn into a tragedy for her. Suddenly, Rachel, with tears in her eyes, suggests to Eva that she drive the stranger away since she is afraid of him. The girl looks at Rachel, telling herself not to call her Ruby anymore, and says that Noel is not a stranger at all. Eva invites the girl to look at how similar she and the captain are in appearance. The girl shakes her head and says that since he offended her sister, it means he is bad. Rachel turns to Zion and asks his opinion, expecting support. The boy nods furiously and shouts that Noel is bad and that he did bad things to his sister. The children start shouting that the captain needs to be kicked out, and Eva doesn't understand what's wrong with them. The children try to convince the girl that the man is big and scary and has no place in their house. Suddenly, Zion goes silent and then says that Noel has the same eyes as Rachel. The captain sighs heavily and admits that he has no idea what to do. Eva tries to calm Noel down and assures him that the girl's memories will return very soon. The man extends his hand and tells Rachel not to be afraid. He will just touch her lightly. But the girl rushes at Eva with a scream and declares that she will live with her sister. The girl pushes the girl away in embarrassment and notices that she is causing inconvenience to her brother. Rachel screams that if she has to leave, she will take Eva with her. The girl understands that she is very sorry to say goodbye to Rachel, but there is nothing to be done. It is time for her to go home. Noel watches the conversation, and his heart breaks when his sister begins to cry bitterly. Eva despairingly thinks that she tried to reject the girl as gently as possible in order to finally bring her home. The captain states that they have no choice and asks the girl if she will do them a favor. Eva screams in amazement. She expected anything but this. Man, seeing the confusion on his interlocutor's face, he assures her that it won't take much time. Noel asks to wait until Rachel accepts him and can trust him. The demon in Eva's head whispers that this is a great chance to snag such a handsome man. The angel assures that if the dragon finds out the truth, he will simply kill her. The captain blushes deeply and says that he is ready to beg. If only it would be better for Rachel. Eva raises her hand and clears her throat, saying that it will be very difficult. Suddenly, the man says that he will repay the girl in full for her kindness. Eva looks at Noel with confusion and asks if he is willing to pay with money. The man nods affirmatively. Thinking about it, Eva asks the children to go out and leave them alone for a while. Saying goodbye to Eva, Noel once again asks her for forgiveness. But the girl assures him that in his place, she would have done exactly the same. Looking at the man, the girl reflects that, in her opinion, the dragon captain should have been more arrogant. Noel is very embarrassed and says he shouldn't ask this, but could Eva please hold his hand? The captain assures that he did not mean to offend the girl with his request, but only wanted to check something. Suddenly, Rachel comes up to Eva and asks why this guy is still here. Deciding not to disturb his sister, Noel decides to leave as soon as possible, and the girl asks him to take care of himself. After some time, Eva falls exhausted onto her bed, thinking that today was a very hard day. Rachel climbs onto the girl's bed and lies down next to her with a satisfied smile. The girl says that she was very scared by the fire that burst out of her hand. Eva gently strokes the girl's hair, thinking that it will be very difficult to explain everything to her. Deciding that she must reconcile Rachel with her brother at all costs, Eva asks if Noel seemed cool to the girl. Rachel sits up in bed and asks the girl to tell her exactly how the man seemed cool to her. Eva says thoughtfully that the captain is tall and very handsome, and he is quite to her taste. Rachel looks at her sister in surprise and asks if Noel is really her ideal. Remembering that wolves are the sworn enemies of dragons, Eva sighs and replies that of course not. Suddenly, the girl declares that if her sister wants it that way, she will try to make friends with the captain. Eva looks at Rachel in surprise, afraid to be happy that she managed to convince her. The girl says that she is ready to meet with a man several times a week, but only in the presence of her sister. Eva happily hugs the girl and assures her that she will definitely help her in everything. Noel walks through the forest, and his soldiers ask in surprise if the young lady will not go with them. One of the guys asks what about that girl they were following. Looking at his hand, the captain reflects that Eve's light touch was enough to instantly calm the fire raging within him. The man orders that more people be sent to the house in the forest and that they be protected. Zion enters the room and asks what the sisters are talking about. The girls answer that they are discussing Noel. The brother declares that he hates the captain for wanting to hurt Eva, but the girl assures him that it was a misunderstanding. The boy stubbornly claims that his sister taught him not to judge a book by its cover and assured him that the world is full of bad people. Eva looks at her brother with confusion. It seems that the main obstacle will not be Rachel, but Zion. Suddenly, the girl reminds that she promised to go outside with them to play this morning. Eva decides to be more kind to the children and says that she has things to do, but they can go out and take a walk. The children squeal with joy, but the girl adds that they must be very careful. Watching Rachel help Zion get dressed, Eva says she's going to make them some delicious food for lunch. As she gets down to business, the girl thinks that Rachel has fortunately shifted her attention. Zion follows Rachel and asks where she is going, since her sister asked her not to go far from home. Turning around, the girl promises to show Zion something he will like. Rachel holds out her hand, and a small flame bursts out on it. The boy looks at it in amazement. The girl realizes with satisfaction that, as she thought, Zion is enchanted by fire magic. The boy stretches out his hands to the fire and says that he really likes its warmth. Rachel squeezes her hand, and the fire immediately goes out. Zion says, in disappointment, that it has become cold again. The girl thoughtfully asks her brother if the weather in the north seems too cold. Zion admits that he asked Eva more than once to move to a warmer place, but she refused. The boy admits that, according to his sister, she has a couple of options in mind for their future. Rachel looks at the boy in amazement, not understanding what kind of place this is that no one knows about. The girl thinks, and Zion happily notices, that the flame has become even bigger. Zion continues to talk about how his sister wants to earn them enough money to buy a real castle. Thinking about it, Rachel realizes that if it's all about money, then her brother will be able to fulfill all of Eva's wishes. The girl tells Zion that she knows how to make her sister's wishes come true, and the boy asks in surprise if this could be true. Rachel insists that they need to go after her brother, but Zion is suspicious that he is bad and has hurt his sister. The girl assures that it was a misunderstanding, but in general he is very cool and can fulfill all of his sister's wishes. And, Rachel adds, Noel can take Zion somewhere warm. The boy happily throws his hands up and says that in that case, he agrees. Rachel looks at Zion with a smile and calmly remarks that he needs to hide his ears. The boy, horrified, says that it was an accident and asks to pretend that nothing happened. As Zion pats his head, Rachel laughs and says that he forgot about his tail. Completely disconcerted and upset, Zion asks if Rachel will tell Eve everything. The girl assures that she will not say anything. But in return, the boy must stop hating her brother. The next morning, very early, there is a knock on the door, and Eva, still in her nightgown, looks at Noel in surprise. After some time, the girl, having changed her clothes, asks for forgiveness for appearing before the captain in such a state. Entering the room, the man is surprised to notice that Rachel is still asleep, but Eva tells how the children played outside until late. Gently stroking the girl's hair, Noel asks if she is causing the girl trouble. Eva says with a laugh that she is the sweetest and most obedient girl she has ever met. Noel sighs and admits that this is the first time he's seen his sister listen to anyone. Rachel, still in the grip of sleep, opens her eyes and declares that Eva and Noel really look good. The girl begins to laugh embarrassedly and says that the girl must not have woken up yet. Suddenly, the man stands up and asks Eva if this is their first meeting, but the girl does not understand what he is talking about. The captain continues to stare at the girl and says that her face seems very familiar to him. Ava looks at the man with bewilderment and thinks that he has a very old-fashioned way of getting closer. The girl says that since birth, she has lived only in the north, so they could hardly have crossed paths. Eva says that the captain must have made a mistake, to which the man nods in agreement. Rachel sits up in bed, thinking that her brother is a real slowpoke. Without telling her thoughts, the girl smiles tenderly and wishes her sister good morning. Suddenly, Rachel's expression changes, and she notices with anger that the guy has shown up again. The girl says that she suddenly felt very hot, to which Eva remarks that her brother's warmth could have been transmitted to her. The girl notices that her brother and sister are behaving very indifferently, as if they were complete strangers. Deciding that the couple needs some help to get closer, Ava says that she has a great idea. Taking Rachel's hand, the girl offers her to give her other hand to her brother. By placing the girl in the middle, Evie says that this way she will be able to gradually get used to Noel's body temperature. Looking at one and then the other, Rachel categorically says that this is wrong. The girl forcefully pulls Eva towards Noel and says with satisfaction that now everything is as it should be. Eva asks sheepishly if she really needs to hold the captain's hand. The man looks at their intertwined hands and wonders if Eve finds it unpleasant to hold him. Completely embarrassed, Eva asks for forgiveness and says that she will still have to hold him. Blushing, Noel says in surprise that this is the first time he has felt such cold, and it worries him a little. The girl looks at the man in fascination, and at that moment, Zion enters the room and asks in surprise what is going on here. The boy throws himself on the bed between Eva and Noel and says he wants to hold hands too. Eva indignantly tells her brother that it is indecent to behave like that in front of a guest and asks him to sit next to her. But suddenly Zion stubbornly refuses and says that he also wants to play such a game. The girl says that Rachel is communicating with her brother and they shouldn't be disturbed, but she herself is afraid that her brother will develop ears and a tail. Suddenly, Noel extends his hand to Zion and invites him to join the hot and cold game. The boy hesitates for a moment and then carefully extends his hand to the man. Suddenly, the boy presses the captain's hand to himself, saying that it is incredibly warm. In horror, Eva notices that her brother has a tail and thinks that it is time for the bad ending. Watching Noel and Rachel closely, the girl carefully hides Zion's tail under the blanket. Eva can't understand what to do next because very soon her brother will have ears. Noticing how much the girl's expression has changed, Noel asks if she is okay. Eva waves her hands, assuring that everything is fine. She just felt a little hot. Noel hangs his head sadly, says that it's all his fault, and asks for forgiveness. Fearing that the man will notice everything, Eva desperately says that she misspoke and that in fact she felt cold. Looking at the boy's tail, the girl mentally begs her brother to control himself. Suddenly, to Eva's great surprise, Rachel walks up to Zion and starts fixing his hair. Turning to the girl says that her brother's hair is disheveled, and it's very cute. The girl laughs and says that Zion's hair sticks out like a puppy's ears. And at that moment, the boy realizes that he has become very relaxed. At that moment, Eva notices with great relief that her brother's tail is gone. The girl exhales and asks Noel for forgiveness for being a little lost in thought. The captain admits that he is not good with children, but Zion is a very friendly boy. The man strokes the boy's hair and says that he is more obedient than his Rachel. Suddenly, Zion declares that he likes Noel too and rushes into the man's arms. Eva shyly tells the boy to come to her, but then Rachel says that she has become very hot. The girl hugs her guest, and all she can think about is making sure her brother doesn't do something naughty again. The boy presses himself closer and closer to Noel and says that he is like a big, warm sun. The embarrassed captain says that this is the first time anyone has paid him such a compliment. The boy looks up at the man with his huge, naive eyes and says that he is also very handsome, just his sister's taste. Eva laughs and says that Zion is not awake yet and asks if he wants to move in with her. The boy assures that all this is not nonsense because his sister herself constantly repeated it. Ava is horrified to hear her brother tell her that she said she loved handsome guys, especially when they cry. The girl tries to pull the boy away from Noel, but he screams that he wants to stay with him. Eva recalls that when her brother was little and capricious, her sister assured him that she loved crying men. Noel thoughtfully presses his hand to his face and repeats about handsome guys who cry. In the evening, the captain leans over to his sister and assures her that he will return soon. Straightening up, Noel looks intently at Eva and says that it's time for him to go. Eva looks away, nods, and again asks the man to take care of himself on the way. As Noel walks through the forest, he muses that it is dangerous for him to get involved with strangers because it could be risky. Because of his heart, the captain killed too many innocent people, including his parents. No matter how hard the man tries, he can't control his frightening power. So how did it happen that Eve managed to tame her with such ease? Noel notices that whenever he thinks about the girl, anxiety begins to pulse in his chest, burning his heart. The thought of the girl always made Noel smile, and it reminded him of a dream he had a few days ago. A man wakes up with the sensation of hellfire in his body, which causes him excruciating pain. Blazing in a huge flame, Noel suddenly notices a beautiful girl walking towards him. The captain tries to make out the stranger's face, but everything around him is in a fog and he sees nothing. Realizing that if the girl comes closer, she will get hurt. Then the man tries to stop her, but suddenly the stranger touches the man's hand, and the hellish flames begin to rapidly die out. Realizing that the pain has disappeared, Noel asks the girl to state her name. The stranger tries to say her name, but at that moment the girl's appearance begins to break into pieces, just like ice. The captain muses that perhaps his smile is due to the fact that Eva is his only salvation from a fatal illness. The man is sure that love has nothing to do with it, because it only has a place in romance novels. Suddenly, Noel hears the sound of footsteps behind him and turns around sharply to see Rachel in front of him. The girl deliberately approaches her brother and declares that he is too slow. The captain was dumbfounded when he heard his sister calling him the most offensive names. Noel can't speak, and Rachel says he has no more intelligence than a brainless, fire-breathing reptile. The girl says that her brother hasn't ruined her plan yet, but since Eva is a cowardly chicken, she can't take her to such a dangerous place. The brother sits down on his knees and asks how his sister ended up in such an unsafe place. The girl says that Eva likes guys who cry beautifully and asks if Noel got the hint. The captain starts to say that he doesn't understand, but Rachel cuts him off and says that she's not finished yet. The girl says that Eva is a kind girl and knows what she wants, namely to live in a palace. Noel looks at his sister with confusion and asks what he should do with this information. Rachel screams that her brother is a complete fool and doesn't understand that he is perfect for Eva. The man winces when his sister says that he shouldn't convince himself that he doesn't like her. Noel looks at his sister intently and says that he really doesn't feel any sympathy. The girl starts yelling at her brother again, wondering how he could not notice his crush. Suddenly, Rachel calms down, winks at Noel, and says she will help him. The girl insists that her brother should not forget that he is a boy, and therefore should take the initiative into his own hands. The next morning, Ava is about to leave the house, but Rachel throws herself into her arms. The girl asks why Eva should go to the market if her brother gave her a lot of money. Eva agrees that Noel has given her a lot, but she needs to visit a friend at the market. The girl assures that she will return soon, but the girl still needs to go to bed and sleep. After seeing her sister off, Rachel notices that she still took her basket of herbs with her. Looking at the covered basket in the corner, Rachel thinks that Noel gave enough money, but it is not enough for Eva. After removing the veil, Rachel thinks that the girl is very ambitious, and she deserves to become her daughter-in-law. Suddenly, Rachel remembers that Eva always covers her face when she goes to the market. Does this mean that she really went to see a friend? Suddenly, it occurs to the girl that her friend might actually be her boyfriend. Rachel wonders if Eva needs a lot of money so she can live happily ever after with her boyfriend. The girl quickly heads into the room, deciding that she cannot allow this to happen. Rachel gets dressed, intending to follow her sister, but suddenly a voice is heard from behind her. Yawning, Zion asks where the girl is going so early. Rachel mumbles that she needs to go out, but the boy immediately declares that he will go with her. The girl tries to dissuade her brother, assuring him that she is going to a very cold and boring place. Looking at the stubborn expression on Zion's face, Rachel knows he'll still follow her. Fearing that if the boy goes alone, he will get lost, the girl sighs and says that she will take him with her. Rachel admonishes Zion that he must stay close to her and not go anywhere. As she approaches the city, Eva remembers a conversation with Rachel about her brother giving the girl a lot of money. The girl looks at the bag of gold in surprise. She did not expect Noel to fulfill his promise. Looking up at the man with an embarrassed look, the girl notices that there is too much money here. The captain notes that, in his opinion, there is not even enough here, and if the girl needs more gold, she should immediately tell him about it. Eva understands that she shouldn't give in to her instincts in the presence of a stranger and convinces herself to refuse the money. Noel looks at his interlocutor intently and declares that he can give her as much as she wants. Instincts take over, and Eva says that once she spends everything, she will definitely ask for more. The girl remembers that as soon as she touches the captain, his cheeks immediately turn red, and modest guys are her type. Eva decides that since she now has a lot of money, she can stop doing sales. She will place the last order and return to the children. The man greets Ev happily and asks if he is doing well. Eva approaches the young man, one of her regular customers, to whom she sells rare herbs. After chatting for a bit, the interlocutor asks if the merchant brought what he asked for. Eva adjusts the mask on her face and says that she brought everything as they agreed. The girl says that she brought more, because from this day on she will no longer be involved in sales. The man anxiously asks if something has happened and says, upset, that now he will have no one to buy from. Eva asks if the man found out about what she asked him about not long ago. The man becomes serious and asks if the merchant knows that they have a new ruler in the north. Eva does not understand how the new ruler can be connected with intermediaries for illegal migration. The girl is horrified to hear that the new captain of the North has strictly prohibited illegal migration. The man puts his hand on the girl's shoulder and remarks that it is better not to do such things nowadays. The interlocutor assures the sad girl that she just needs to wait a little and the ban will soon be lifted. Suddenly, the man starts looking for something in his pocket and says that he wants to give Eva a parting gift. Having put a bundle in Eva's hand, the guy assures her that she is unlikely to find such rare herbs anywhere. Realizing that the man gave her drugs, the girl tries to return the package to him and notices that he is simply crazy. The man insistently places the package in the basket, declaring that the merchant is more honest than he thought. The guy invites Eva to try it. He will surely like the amazing taste of the new world. Deciding that it is better not to argue, the girl hides the package, thinking that she will throw it away on the way home. Eva reflects that she is already in danger of dying from the heat without having to deal with drug problems. The man says goodbye and thanks the merchant for their fruitful cooperation. As she leaves, Eva despairs that the new laws mean her plan to move to warmer climates is in danger of collapsing. On the way home, the girl reflects that she will have to live longer in the north and continue to take care of Rachel. Once again, the thought comes to Eve's mind about what will happen if the dragons find out about everything. The girl shakes her head furiously in the hope of driving away negative thoughts. She is sure that there will always be a way out. Approaching the house, Eva is sure that as soon as she sees her children, she will immediately calm down. The girl notices the open door and anxiously enters the house, announcing that she has returned. Without waiting for an answer, Eva quickly runs around the house and realizes with horror that neither Rachel nor Zion are anywhere. Instantly running out into the forest, Eva runs as fast as she can, not understanding what could have happened. Running through the forest, the girl loudly calls the children by name, but there is no sound in response. Realizing that the children might have gone into town, Eva fears that Rachel will be quickly noticed because her appearance is so different. Running into the city, the girl is so panicked that she doesn't even notice how she crashes into other children. Out of breath, the girl realizes that there are no children in the square or in the alley. Blaming herself for everything that happened, Eva crashes into another passerby with all her might. Stopping, the girl begins to apologize, but the stranger assures that nothing terrible happened. Finally raising her eyes, the girl is surprised to see Noel, who is hiding his face under a hood. The captain looks at Eva's completely crazy face in surprise and asks what happened. The man suddenly flinches when he hears in response that the children have disappeared from the house. Eva begins to cry, telling them that she left them at home and went away. Bursting into tears, the girl says that it is entirely her fault and that she is an irresponsible sister. Suddenly, the captain grabs Eva firmly by the shoulders and tells her that she needs to calm down. Pulling away, the girl realizes that Noel is right, and now is not the time to cry. With her head down, Eva apologizes for her emotions and says that she will continue to look for the children. The girl runs away, and the bewildered captain shouts after her, asking her to stop. Zion looks at the suspicious-looking men with fear and asks Rachel if she is sure they have come to the right place. The girl thoughtfully says that she is not quite sure about this, and the boy tries to convince her that they need to leave. Zion starts to cry and asks Rachel to come back home quickly. The girl irritably replies that they have come a long way in search of their sister, and now is not the time to leave. Finally enraged, Rachel demands that Zion stop crying because she can't stand crybabies. Surprised by this reaction, the boy remarks that Eva loves such men. The girl says that her sister has strange preferences, and her brother follows her lead, which is why he behaves this way. The kids start fighting. Rachel tries to convince Zion that no one likes crybabies, and Zion loyally defends his sister. Rachel realizes that she was reckless in taking Zion with her, and says that they really should go home. But suddenly the boy turns around and declares that he will not go anywhere with Rachel, but will find his sister himself. The girl tries to catch up with her brother, realizing that if they reach the square, they will certainly be noticed there. Realizing she has no choice, Rachel summons flames from her hand and yells at the boy to stop. Zion almost steps on the flames, and Rachel repeats again that she asked him to stop. Seeing that her brother has stopped, the girl calls him a fool and assures him that she didn't mean anything bad. Looking at a pleased Zion, Rachel assures that Eva is her most adored future stepsister. With a sigh, the girl realizes that the problem is solved, and she has found the best way to make the naive wolf wag his tail. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice is heard behind the girl, asking where the fire came from. Rachel turns around, in great fear, thinking that there was no one in the alley. A scruffy-looking man asks a girl if she can use fire. Rachel pulls herself together and, pulling up her hood, assures him that the man was mistaken. The stranger asks with a laugh if the girl really thinks she can hide her face under some kind of scarf. The man points to the flame that Zion is standing next to and says that it was Rachel who created it. Sensing danger, the girl covers her brother with her body and tells him not to stick his head out. Looking at the stranger and noticing his lifeless gaze, the girl understands that he could be dangerous. Waving her hands and causing flames, Rachel calmly says that this is none of the stranger's business and suggests that he leave. The man starts laughing and says that the little dragon is unlikely to scare him. Suddenly, the tramp notices a sparkling ring on the girl's outstretched hand. The man thoughtfully rubs his chin and reflects on the fact that he has seen this ring somewhere before. Finally remembering where he saw the decoration, the stranger now understands why the girl did not give it back. Suddenly, the tramp approaches the children and asks angrily how the dragon dared to venture north. The man grabs Rachel by the collar and asks how dare she speak to him in such a tone. Bringing his face closer to the girl, the tramp says that he can make good money by selling such nice children. Suddenly, Zion runs up to the man and starts beating him with his fists, demanding that he immediately release his sister. The tramp turns around in a rage and hits the boy hard, sending him flying to the ground. Suddenly, the man notices the ears on Zion's head and says with a laugh that the dragon and the half-breed really are a good couple. Rachel looks at her brother in despair, thinking that she must protect him, but she is being held so tightly that she cannot breathe. Suddenly, a fireball flies at the tramp's back, and he lets go of Rachel in surprise. Noel furiously asks how such a worthless person dared to touch the girl with his filthy hands. The captain squats down in front of the children and asks if they are okay. The tramp, terrified, tries to put out the fire and screams, begging for help. Noel, fire in hand, ponders what to do with this annoying wolf. Suddenly, Zion comes up to the man, puts her hand on him, and with tears in her eyes asks him to stop because he is scared. Instantly calming down, the captain falls to his knees and asks the boy for forgiveness. Noel realizes that the calm and happiness he has experienced over the past few days has almost blinded him. The man almost forgot who he was and that the wolves were his enemies and should be killed. Suddenly, Noel remembers Eva's worried face and thinks that all this might scare her. Strangely enough, just the thought of it makes his heart skip a beat. The tramp, having put out the fire, points his finger at the captain and shouts that he wanted to kill him. The man screams that the dragon attacked him on their own territory and that a war could start because of this. Suddenly, Eva appears behind the tramp with a frozen apple in her hand and furiously asks how such a scoundrel dared to attack her children. The girl grabs the man by the scarf and, shaking him hard, asks how he dared to touch the children with his paws. Eva screams that she should have killed him the first time she realized he was a drug addict. Grabbing the ice and swinging it hard, the girl screams that such worthless people belong in hell. Suddenly, Noel grabs the girl tightly, takes the apple away from her, and asks her to calm down. The girl screams that she needs to finish off the scoundrel, but the captain assures her that she is not herself. Rachel watches this with delight and tells Zion that she no longer wants her sister to be her sister-in-law. The girl looks at Eva with loving eyes and declares that she herself would not refuse such a wife. Noel gently takes the girl's face and asks if she has calmed down. Eva asks what she has done, and the captain notices that she has regained her composure. Embarrassed, the man apologizes for daring to touch the girl without asking. Then Eva's little brother runs up to her and asks if his sister is okay. The girl reproachfully asks the boy why he left home, since she asked him not to leave without her. Since childhood, Eva lived in fear for her brother and tried in every way to protect him from this. Sobbing, the girl asks what would happen to her if something happened to Zion. Eva looks at her brother sadly and asks if he understands how worried she was. The boy sincerely asks his sister for forgiveness and asks her not to cry. Eva hugs Zion tightly and remarks that it is a great blessing that nothing happened to him. Rachel quietly approaches the couple and says that it is her fault that what happened. The girl says that it was she who asked Zion to go with her. To Rachel's surprise, Zion says that he forced himself on her and then ran away. Eva hugs the children tightly and says that she is the only one to blame for leaving the children unattended. With tears in her eyes, Rachel says that it all happened because she called her sister's preferences strange. Zion cries and says that her sister's preferences are not strange, they are just special. Noel laughs and apologizes for interrupting the conversation, noting that the girl's preferences are indeed strange. Eva remarks that it's time to stop crying and go home, but first, the children must thank the captain for his help. Zion hugs the man tightly, thanks him, and assures him that without him, they would be in big trouble. Rachel doesn't come closer, but stands to the side, thanking her brother for his help. Noel opens his arms wide inviting his sister to finally give him a real hug. A moment later, the girl happily rushes towards the man and hugs him tightly. Eva turns to her brother and sister, who are whispering about something, and says that they need to buy groceries on the way home. Noel cryptically reports that Rachel said she lost something in the alley. Eva suggests going back and looking for the lost property, but Rachel says she's going with her brother. Watching the dragons leave, the girl happily thinks that they have finally gotten along. The tramp looks at the man and the girl in horror and asks what else they want from him. He almost died as it is. Rachel replies, with a smirk, that the man asked for it himself. There was no need to threaten him and Zion. The girl remarks that it is time to pay for the fact that he upset her future daughter-in-law. In the evening, Eva straightens the blanket on her sleeping children and looks at them with incredible tenderness. Noel came up, looked at the girl, and quietly asked if she was okay. Eva pulls a blanket over the children and says that yes, the children have already calmed down. The man sighs and notices that he wasn't asking about how the children were. The captain says he asked if Eva herself was okay and feeling well. The man straightens a strand of hair that has fallen across Eve's face and notices that her eyes are red. The girl presses her hand to her face and replies that she is fine. She was just very scared. Eva again says, embarrassed, that she alone is to blame for what happened. Noel disagrees with the girl and assures her that she shouldn't blame herself. The captain is confident that the girl will take into account what happened and that this will not happen again in the future. Looking at the sleeping children, Noel remarks that there is no need to blame yourself for what they did. The man kneels before Eva and says that she did everything she could to protect them. The girl is so embarrassed by what is happening that she suddenly jumps up and says that she urgently needs to collect herbs. Noel looks at Eva in confusion, and she immediately leaves the room. The girl runs out of the house and, leaning against the door, tries to put her thoughts in order. A lot has happened today, and the girl can't just throw it all out of her head. Eva takes a deep breath and realizes that she needs to pull herself together before going home. The next day, the girl woke up with a headache and sneezed all morning. Noticing that Eva is shaking violently, Rachel brings her a blanket and says that she is clearly unwell. Eva can't believe that a short night walk led to a cold. Noticing the worried expression on Zion's face, the girl assures him that he will recover very soon. Placing his hand on Eva's forehead, Noel notices that she has a high fever and needs to take medication. The man points to the table and says that he will make a decoction from these herbs for the girl. Eva sincerely thanks the captain, and he replies that he will return very soon. Noel leaves, and the children, wanting to help, follow him. Eva can barely keep her eyes open, but she gradually falls asleep. After some time, the captain wakes the girl, saying that as soon as she drinks the decoction, she will be able to fall asleep again. Eva complains of a headache, and Noel assures her that after taking the medicine, she will feel much better. The captain says that he will leave the rest of the brew on the table, and the girl will have to drink it after she wakes up. The man says that while Eva is sleeping, he and the children will go outside to get water. When Noel's hand touches her forehead, Eva feels as if she is suspended between heaven and hell. The girl falls asleep with the thought that through touch, she feels love and the desire to care. Eva opens her eyes and wonders if she must have slept all day. In shock, the girl notices that instead of a hand, she has a paw, and in addition, a tail has appeared. Jumping up sharply on the bed, the girl realizes with horror that she has turned into a she-wolf. Eva can't believe that after sleeping for so many hours, she woke up in the form of an animal. The girl hopes that this is all a dream, and that what is happening is just part of her fantasies. Curling up into a ball, Eva tells herself to calm down and wake up. The girl thinks that if she slowly counts to 10, everything will return to normal. Before she can even count to the end, Eva jumps up again and realizes that this is not a dream, but that she is simply trying to deny reality. Suddenly, the girl's gaze falls on a glass standing on the nightstand, and she smells a strange smell. Eva recalls asking Noel to make a decoction from the herbs that were supposed to be in her basket. Jumping out of bed, the girl thinks that her herbs should not have any side effects. Climbing onto a chair, Eva looks at the strange grass in amazement, refusing to believe what is happening. The girl remembers that she never threw away the package that the client gave her, and it turns out that Noel made the decoction from them. Now Eva understands why she turned into a wolf, but has absolutely no idea how to return to her previous appearance. The she-wolf is desperate and thinks that if she doesn't turn before the dragons arrive, she will be in trouble. Eva hopes that once the drug's effects wear off, she will be able to become human again. As Eva stands at the door, it opens, and Rachel enters, saying that her sister should still be sleeping. The girl looks in amazement at the wolf sitting in front of her, and gradually it dawns on her that it is Eva. The girl understands from the expression on Rachel's face that she has undoubtedly guessed who is in front of her. Following Rachel into the house, Zion cries out in surprise, not realizing who is in front of him. Since the boy was born, they lived deep in the forest, so he never saw other wolves. The boy tries to say that the wolf looks like his sister, but Rachel quickly shuts him up and says that it is their dog. The girl claims that it is definitely a dog, and that she has seen it once before. Zion asks in surprise if the girl remembered the dog, then her memory has returned. The boy says that he needs to show the dog to his sister, and only then notices that Eva is not in bed. Zion thinks that his sister is missing, and the dog has appeared. Eva mentally asks him to stop thinking about things he shouldn't. Suddenly, Eva falls to the floor and begins to flirt with the most adorable look, hoping to distract the children's attention. Zion immediately rushes to the wolf and starts playing with him, saying that the dog is very cute. Rachel breathes a sigh of relief, and Eva thinks that she doesn't really like being called a dog. The girl convinces Zion that her sister has a fever and must have gone out to cool off. Suddenly, Eva starts noticing a shadow on the threshold. Because of the children, she completely forgot about her plight. Noel appears on the doorstep, asking if the children got home safely. Noticing the wolf, the captain asks with disgust what this creature is doing here. Eva starts barking loudly, imitating a dog, but she herself thinks that she is finished. The girl thinks that she can't fool a man as easily as she can fool children. Suddenly, Rachel comes to the rescue, hugging the animal tightly and declaring that it is just a dog. The girl tells her brother not to dare to offend her pet, which she will take care of. Rachel states that this is not an ordinary dog, and if her brother wants her to live with him, he must treat the animal well. Noel doesn't understand what's going on. This is the first time Rachel has acted so strangely. The man suddenly looks around, but notices only the herbs scattered on the table. Looking at the dog, the same thoughts come to his mind as Zion. Eve disappeared, and the dog appeared. Noel looks closely at the animal, noting the familiar eyes and fur color, and the conclusion suggests itself. Sitting in Rachel's arms, Eva looks at the captain and realizes that he is in a bad mood. The girl understands that if she doesn't do something urgently, Noel will simply explode with rage. Eva jumps to the floor, thinking that she must prevent disaster at any cost. Placing her paw on the captain's boot, Eva puts on her cutest expression, hoping it will touch his heart. The captain drops to one knee and, looking at the animal, tells Rachel that he understands her. Noel grins as he notices that this is the most adorable dog he has ever seen. The man gently strokes the wolf's head, and Eva feels that his mood has changed. The captain watches Eva with a smile, thinking that she doesn't need to pretend like that. The man gets up and says that he needs to go and collect wood for the fireplace. Rachel asks, "What about the dog?" and her brother replies that she should take care of it. When his sister asks if he will return soon, the man says that he won't be able to finish quickly. The captain says that Eva has apparently gone for a walk, so the children should look after the house until he returns. Leaning against the door, Noel despairs at the thought that he barely restrained himself from attacking her. The captain could not have imagined that the girl was actually a wolf. The man doesn't know what to do. Rage and unconscious power cloud his mind, driving him crazy. Meanwhile, at the house, Rachel grabs Eva in her arms, and tells Zion that it's time for them to get ready for bed. The girl thinks that this way Eva will have time to return to her real form in a calm environment. In bed, the wolf licks the girl's face, thinking that she would not have survived if Rachel had not stopped her brother. The girl really hopes that if she gives herself a little time, she will be able to return to her previous appearance. Sometime later, Noel enters the room and is relieved to see that the girl has become human again. As the captain adjusts his blanket, he thinks about how upset Ava was when she realized she had turned into a wolf. The man wonders how the girl will react if she finds out that he figured everything out. For some reason, Noel is sure that if Eva finds out, she will flee. The captain thinks that if Eva were the wolf from the legend, he would have to take her heart to save his life. But since the man is in love with the girl and wants to be with her, everything becomes noticeably more complicated. Noel realizes that all his hidden feelings are starting to come out. He doesn't want to hurt Eva. He wants to be with her forever. The captain realizes that in order for his plans to succeed, he needs to do something. Stroking the girl's cheek, the captain understands that in order for the girl to choose him, he must become someone she likes. Suddenly, Eva grabs Noel's hand, and at that moment, he realizes that his only heart beats for her. Eva finally wakes up, realizing that it is already morning, and notices that it is much warmer than usual today. Sitting up in bed, the girl is amazed to see Noel sitting next to the bed, holding her hand in his sleep. The girl can't believe that he spent the whole night like this, fearing that she would catch a cold again. Suddenly, Eva begins to feel herself and hopes that the captain did not see her ears and tail. Suddenly, it occurs to the girl that Noel might tie her up and interrogate her as soon as he wakes up. Eva notices that the man has woken up and, embarrassed, wishes him good morning. The captain explains that last night, after a walk, Eva's body temperature dropped and asks if she is cold now. In fear, the girl clutches at straws and says that she really had been out all night. While seeing Noel off, Eva turns to Rachel and asks if she wants to go with her brother now that her memory has returned. The girl looks at her sister pleadingly and assures her that she doesn't remember anything. The captain realizes that this is all very strange, and Eva says that in that case, Rachel will have to stay with them. The girl apologizes again for causing Noel so much trouble, but the man assures her that everything is fine. The captain is surprised to hear Eva say that if he needs help, all he has to do is say so. Eva assures that Noel can ask her for absolutely anything. In that case, says the captain, could Eva stroke his hair? Rachel is surprised that her brother is so persistent today. She doesn't know what he's up to, but she needs to help him. The girl says that Zion is calling her, and she urgently needs to go and visit him. Eva looks at Rachel with confusion, realizing that she is very uncomfortable being alone with Noel. The man claims that the entire time he was holding the girl's hand, he felt colder. Eva blushes and says that in that case, they should hold hands more often. The captain says it's a good idea, but it would be better if she stroked his hair. Seeing the girl's confusion, Noel says that he is asking too much, but he cannot forget that cool moment when they were together. The girl puts her hands on the man's head and asks if this is what he wanted. Suddenly, Eva notices with surprise that at that moment her heart began to beat faster. What an irony! The she-wolf pets the dragon captain, and her heart beats faster. A few days later, Eva tells the children that they should not take off their capes in the square. The children had been sitting at home for a long time, and the girl decided to take them for a walk on the condition that they would not leave her side. Suddenly, Zion notices a bookstore and asks his sister to go there together. The girl thinks that it would be nice to buy a few books about the human world. In the store, children look around in complete delight, their mouths open. Also, looking around, Eva thinks that she needs to make sure that the children don't take off their capes. Suddenly, the girl walks past the rack with new releases and notices an adult novel. Running her eyes through the book, Eva remembers that before her rebirth, she also read a novel in which the main character loved to shed tears in the eyes of his beloved. Since she now has a lot of free time, maybe it's worth buying this novel. Ava approaches the stand with books about the human world and is surprised to notice that it is almost empty. The girl turns to the seller, wondering if all the books about people have already been sold. The man turns around and asks in surprise if the girl doesn't know that such books have been banned. The seller says that all this happened because of mass illegal migration into the human world. The man says that the human king was very angry. So before the situation could get worse, the books were withdrawn from sale. Eva bought a book that she doesn't really need and thinks that now she has absolutely no idea what to do next. Rachel watches Eva in surprise, wondering what she is up to. Making her way into the room, the girl thinks that she heard a conversation about the human world. So did Eva really decide to move there? Rachel understands that if this happens, they will never see each other again, which means it must be prevented at any cost. The girl summons her fiery phoenix with a wave of her hand and states that she has a request. Rachel points to the shelf and asks the bird to bring her the book Eva bought that morning. Since the girl didn't tell anyone about the book, it means it's connected to her plans, and it's imperative to find out what she's thinking about. Taking the book in her hands, Rachel is perplexed to realize that it is a novel for adults. The girl begins to read the book with great amazement, not believing that Eva is really like that. Showing the pages to Phoenix, Rachel tells him to memorize the passage and pass it on to his brother. Seeing that the bird is hesitating, the girl shouts that everything must be handed over right now. Reading the tear-jerking romance novel, Noel can't believe that Eva has such preferences. Since the captain is determined to please the girl in everything, he must make every effort to become an attractive crybaby. Suddenly, Noel sees his sister's phoenix flying through the window. An image of the sister appears, and she assures that the brother must immediately find out what Eva's ideal type is. The sister shows an excerpt from the girl's book and declares that these are the kind of men she likes. The captain resolutely opens the doors, realizing that now is not the time to learn to cry, but it is better to go and find out everything from Eva herself. The servant catches up with Noel and asks where he is going at this hour of the night, to which the master replies that he needs to go north. The young man is perplexed because the captain just returned from there and is now flying away again. The servant reminds him that there is an important meeting scheduled for tomorrow, and Noel assures him that he will be back soon. Looking at the dragon taking off, the young man does not understand what has appeared in the north, since the captain flies there every day. The children call Eva, who is sitting nearby, and ask her to play with them. The girl waves her hand and asks not to pay attention to her, but to enjoy the game. Last night, Eva was so engrossed in reading her new novel that she completely forgot about the time. All night long, she was tormented by a flame raging in her chest. It seemed that the main character hyena was not to her taste, but the plot excited her. Eva reasons that it's not that she likes healthy guys, but she'd rather prefer someone who can evoke compassion in her. If the girl could choose, it would be someone like Noel. Suddenly, Eva hears a strange sound. A strong wind blows, and everything around begins to shake. Noel tidies himself up and is surprised to notice Eva standing next to him. The girl looks at the captain in surprise and asks if they had agreed to meet today. Noel remembers Zion's words about his sister's sympathies and then remembers the plot from the book. The captain does not understand how it will be correct, but in any case, you need to try. In a sad voice, the man says that a fire was raging in his chest all night, so he came all this way to come to her. Eva is completely confused by the man's words and cannot understand where he is getting at. Noel leans his face closer to Eva and earnestly asks her to cool him down. Rachel watches her brother in complete amazement and wonders what the hell he is doing. The girl whispers that she clearly told him how he should behave with Eva in order to win her heart. Looking at Noel, Rachel thinks with indignation that she gave him the perfect tip and he still screwed up. Realizing that the girl is not looking at Zion at all, the boy turns around and says that he will not play with her anymore. As he leaves, Zion thinks with tears in his eyes that things were different before, but now Rachel has completely forgotten about him. Deciding that he can entertain himself, Zion says that now, even if the girl asks, he will not play with her. Suddenly the boy stops, noticing some unusual thing in the snow. The mysterious stranger watches as Zion bends down to pick up the item. Eva says sheepishly that no matter how hot Noel is, he can't unbutton his shirt. The man looks down, realizing that Hyena's style doesn't suit him, which is why Eva doesn't like him. The girl strokes the captain's cheek, saying that last time he felt noticeably better when she touched him. Noel thinks that if he wants to win a girl's heart, he must do everything to get to know his type better. Embarrassed, the man says that if Eve doesn't like it when people blush with shame, then next time he will try to hide it. The girl looks intently at Noel. For the first time in her life, she met her ideal, and he turned out to be a dragon. Zion looks at the bottle and notices a very beautiful stone inside, the same color as Rachel's eyes. Suddenly, a young man comes out from behind a tree and waves his hand to the boy in a friendly manner. Zion notices that the guy has a strange smile, and the stranger assures him that he is not a bad person. The boy remembers his sister's words about being more careful with those who have narrow eyes. Zion looks at the young man with wide eyes and declares that, by order of his sister, he is not allowed to communicate with strangers. As the boy takes off his hood, he reflects that this little rascal will be hard to fool. However, the young man reflects, fooling vigilant children is his forte. Zion runs up to the stranger and shouts that his hair color has changed. Seeing the surprise on Zion's face, the guy says that this is his ability because she is a chameleon. Stretching out his hands, which turn green, the young man says that they can change their color at any time. Seeing the boy looking at him with such delight, the stranger understands that the resistance has been broken, and now he can get down to business. The guy points to Zion's hand and asks what he's clenching in his fist. The boy immediately shows the bottle and says that he accidentally found it in the snow. Noticing that the bottle is very warm, the chameleon suggests that Zion give it to his dear sister. Looking at the boy with a smile, the guy says that he knows a place where there are plenty of such things. Suddenly, Zion, to the chameleon's great amazement, begins to cry sadly. The young man asks in horror what happened, and the boy replies that his sister likes Rachel better. Zion tells how Eva said that Rachel is very warm and you can hug her every day. Looking at the girls interacting, Zion felt like a lonely, cold boy. Looking at the stone, the boy asks if his sister will hug him if he has it. Zion starts to cry, saying that Eva doesn't love him anymore and that no stone can change that. The chameleon, who had not expected such a reaction at all, awkwardly tries to calm the boy down. Having also started to cry, the boy assures Zion that it is simply impossible that his sister could stop loving him. The young man says that a brother should not be offended by his sister. Maybe she doesn't show it, but deep down she loves him very much. Zion looks at the bottle, and the guy assures her that his sister will be very happy with such a warm gift. Looking at the boy, the chameleon understands that it is time to return to work and finish the task. The young man remembers that many dragons are counting on him. Chameleon continues to subtly put thoughts into Zion's head that he should give the bottle to his sister. Suddenly, the young man looks up and notices a little girl who is rapidly approaching them. Rachel looks at the young man in amazement and asks why he is here. The girl's attention immediately switches to Zion, and she asks why he left again without saying a word. Rachel, angry, says that the boy is not helping in any way, and he even left without saying a word. The boy obediently stands next to the girl, and she asks who the person was with whom he was sitting. Looking at the stranger, Rachel demands to tell him everything he knows. Until the chameleon went north, everyone was on edge, because not only the young lady had disappeared, but the captain had not returned from the north. One of the servants remarks that it feels like Noel is raising a pet in the north. The young men do not understand whether the speaker is joking or whether the captain is really raising a wolf. While the active discussion is going on, the chameleon sleeps carefree, sitting nearby. Suddenly, a scroll flies to Carmel. and he hears an order that he must go north. The man angrily says that he has repeatedly ordered people not to sleep during meetings. The young man states that once the captain heads north again, Carmel must keep an eye on him. The young man holds out the bottle and says that the chameleon must get close to the one with whom the captain is communicating and give him this. The bottle contains a stone, purified by the captain's inner power, and for an ordinary person, it can be fatal. This stone has been given more power, and Carmel must make sure Rachel doesn't touch it, as the fire attribute is similar to her flame. If the woman the captain meets is worthy of becoming his life partner, then upon touching the stone, she will absorb all of its power. The young man adds that if an ordinary person touches the stone, he will not be able to control it and will burn to ashes. Carmel understands that if she tells the lady everything, the truth will clearly anger her. Rachel is surprised to hear apologies and explanations that the dragons had no choice, since she and the captain had been gone for a long time. The girl looks at the bottle and can't believe that these scumbags used her brother to test her sister. Eva has always been very kind to Rachel, and the girl does not want to put her in any danger. Turning to Zion, Rachel demands that he give her the vial containing the stone immediately. Looking at the thing, the girl says that it is a very dangerous thing, and it is better if it stays with her. The boy meekly gives Rachel the bottle, and Carmel clutches her head in horror. Realizing that the young lady is in danger, the boy runs up to the children and deftly snatches the bottle. Rachel, furious, tries to jump up, screaming for the dragon to give her the stone immediately. Carmel understands that if things continue like this, sooner or later, the bottle will end up in the mistress's hands. Realizing that he has no choice, the guy decides that the only right decision is to swallow the stone. Rachel runs as fast as she can towards the boy, screaming that he is an idiot and should spit out the stone immediately. In desperation, the girl screams that if the boy doesn't spit it out, his life will be in danger. Carmel covers her mouth, thinking that it would be much more dangerous if the stone ended up in the mistress's hands. Summoning fire, Rachel declares that if the boy does not spit out the stone, she will have to resort to force. Carmel swallows the stone, and the children watch as the monstrous force begins to consume the boy. Carmel, in desperation, reaches out to Rachel and begs the young lady to help him. The girl watches what is happening in confusion, realizing that something completely horrible is happening. The fear that the girl had already forgotten began to flare up within her again. The whole mosquito thing reminded Rachel of the old days that raged in the north. Suddenly, Zion runs up to the girl and grabs her hand, looking intently into her eyes. The boy asks Rachel not to be afraid because he will do everything to protect her. The girl sees that her brother is trembling with fear, but still tries to protect her. Realizing she needs to pull herself together, Rachel asks Zion to stand behind her. While summoning the flames, the lady warns Carmel that he will be in some pain. At this moment, the young man receives a powerful blow to the forehead with ice, followed by a cry that he is a scumbag. Carmel looks at the icy rock under her feet in surprise and cannot understand where it came from. Eva runs towards the stranger, shouting that he has come all this way into the forest to destroy their peaceful life. Trembling with rage, the girl declares that no one will dare touch her children. Eva grabs the offender by the collar and asks who he thinks he is. The girl continues to attack, but then Rachel rushes to her and says that it is very dangerous. Suddenly, Eva freezes, feeling that Carmel's body is unusually hot. The girl suddenly pulls her hand away, and her clothes start to smoke at the point of contact. Noel runs up to Eva, but she says that everything is fine, only her clothes are a little scorched. Looking at the dying youth, the captain asks in surprise what the hell Carmel is doing here. The man examines the young man and says that judging by his condition, he ate the red stone. Eva looks at Noel in surprise and asks who this young man is and why he came here. The captain, puzzled, says that it was most likely a stone containing his power. Looking at Carmel's condition, one can assume that there was a lot of force, and if nothing is done, his life will be in danger. Clenching his fist, Noel realizes that he can't do anything because his power will only make things worse. Suddenly, Ava, despite the danger, sits down next to Carmel and tries to cool him down with the power of ice. The girl says she can't just give up and let the boy die. Eva is confident that her magic can bring the heat out of the guy, so it's definitely worth a try. Sometime later, Carmel wakes up clutching her head and trying to remember what happened. Turning his head around in surprise, the young man realizes that he is not dead. A beautiful girl enters the room and kindly asks if everything is okay with him. Eva notices that Carmel has no fever, and the young man is sure that he is facing a real angel. The girl hands the guy a cup of the infusion and says that it will remove the remaining heat. Carmel is sure that he has arrived in heaven, where there are no bosses and work problems. Raising the cup to his mouth, the young man suddenly hears an incredibly familiar voice. Turning towards the door, Carmel looks straight into her captain's eyes with horror. Seeing that the guy has woken up, Noel declares that he wants to hear the guy's excuses. Carmel falls to her knees and begs for forgiveness in despair, saying that they only wanted to bring him home. Taking the young man by the shoulder, Noel says that he understands the worries of his subjects, but that is not the main problem. Bringing his head closer to Carmel, the captain says in a rage that Ava and the children almost got hurt. Carmel throws himself on the floor and cries out repentantly that he is very sorry about everything that happened. The young man declares that he is ready to atone for his sin with his life, and the returning Eve asks why this is necessary. Noel knows he needs to put his best foot forward and can't let what happened ruin everything. Touching Carmel's forehead, the captain declares that his fever has returned and that he had better lie down again. Looking at Noel, Carmel doesn't understand why the captain is pretending like that. Carmel ponders everything, thinking that ice magic is a wolf ability. Suddenly, the guy asks Eva if she used magic to remove that heat from his body. Without waiting for an answer, Carmel bluntly asks Eva if her magic means she is a wolf. The girl is desperate and thinks that whenever she meets someone from the south, she always ends up with the same questions. Suddenly, Zion runs into the room and says that he was very surprised when his friend fell. Eva thinks with relief that this time her little brother showed up just in time. Rachel rushes to the girl and asks her to hug her because she has become very hot. Looking at her brother, the girl understands that he needs help because he can't cope on his own. Calling Noel with signs, the girl says that she feels better, but that's not all. Rachel says that her brother is also very hot, so they should all hug together. Carmel watches the scene unfold and feels completely confused. The guy asks what kind of relationship they have, and Rachel immediately says that Eva is her sister. Turning to Carmel, the girl smilingly declares that, among other things, Ava is her brother's friend. The girl is confused. In order to call her a friend, there must be something between her and Noel. The girl urges herself to pull herself together and think carefully. Perhaps Rachel meant friendly relations. Zion states that since his sister is now the captain's friend, he can call Carmel his friend. The young man says sheepishly that judging by the way the young lady treats them, they can't be wolves. Eva looks at Noel and realizes that he is not at all surprised by his sister's words. The girl decides that Rachel is just a child, and she could not have put any other meaning into her words. Carmel is about to leave, and Eva hospitably invites him to stay for dinner. The young man assures that he is in a hurry and will definitely have something to eat on the way. The girl can't believe that she has met so many Southerners in such a short time. Looking at the captain, Eva says that she is interested in some question. The girl asks if it is possible that Southerners and Northerners use the same words, but put different meanings into them. Noel doesn't answer the question, but suddenly notices that Rachel has disappeared somewhere. The captain is sure that the girl went to see Carmel off, and Eva says that she will walk around the area just in case. Realizing that the man has avoided answering, the girl comes to the conclusion that this word means nothing to him. Carmel walks through the forest, surprised to hear that it turns out the captain has a girlfriend. The young man is confident that, to put it in other words, Eva is the master's future life partner. The guy wants to return home as soon as possible and tell the people of the South that everything will soon change. Suddenly, Carmel almost falls as flames surround him from all sides. The young man realizes with surprise that this is none other than the little lady's phoenix. Turning around, Carmel assures the captain that she will return to the South as soon as possible and tell everyone about the benefactress. Noel calmly asks what his subject thinks of Eva's power. The young man admits that the girl has the most powerful ice magic he has ever seen. The boy insists that Eva needs to be brought south as soon as possible, but the captain notes that some preparations need to be made first. Noel asks Carmel to imagine what Eva would do if the dragon suddenly forced her to go south with him. The young man assures that he will talk to the people so that the benefactress and her brother are given a worthy reception. Noel asks what the Southerners will think if Eva and Sion are introduced as mages from the north. People might mistake them for wolves, since that's what mages often are. Carmel says he will explain to the Southerners that the guests are not wolves, and thus any misunderstandings can be avoided. The captain says that he completely trusts Carmel with this task. It will be very difficult, but the guy should cope. The young man declares that he will try his best to make sure that no one thinks that Eva and Zion are wolves. Noel looks trustingly at the servant and says that he is counting on him. Carmel reports to Hopper that he has met a man in the north who can control the captain's inner fire. The butler remarks that it is hard to believe that there is an ice mage he has never met. The man asks to tell where the girl lives, because he himself must check whether she is a person. Hopper says he's heading north because the situation seems more than a little strange to him. The butler recalls how in the past the flames engulfed the South and everyone was overcome with sadness. One day, the previous lord and his wife died from the uncontrollable power of the current lord. That day, Hopper swore that he would do everything for the young lord and young lady. To help Noel, the butler gathered the greatest ice mages from all over the world and even entered into a secret conspiracy with a half-blood, but it was all in vain. And now, suddenly a magician has appeared who is able to control the Lord's power, but most likely this is a trick of the vile wolves. The butler is determined that he must protect their master. At the bookstore, Ava says that she usually buys books here, but lately there has been nothing suitable. The girl remarks that it would be great if there were good children's books. The girl says that as soon as the store reduced its selection, she couldn't find anything suitable for herself. When Noel asks what books the girl is looking for, Ava replies that she would like to read about the human world. The girl explains that she wants to understand if there are those who can help her get there. Eva muses that it would be nice to learn how to pretend to be human and asks if there are many such books in the South. Approaching the captain, Eva notes that since he is the head of the South, he must have a personal library. Noel replies that he is not sure, as he has never looked into the matter. Eva asks the man again if it happens that the same word has different meanings, depending on the situation. Looking at the captain, the girl gives the example of the word girlfriend and asks whether it can have different meanings. Eva notes that in the North it is used for a brother's wife, but when Rachel said so, Noel and Carmel did not react at all. Without waiting for an answer, the girl says that she shouldn't have asked about it. The captain quietly replies that the word girlfriend means practically the same thing. Sitting away from the children, Eva realizes that she understood everything correctly. But why did she tell Rachel that then? Looking at the girl's upset face, Noel says that he is sorry that she got into such an awkward situation. The man says that he needed to correct his sister, but he could not say a word because he hoped that these words would become reality. Noel is sure that Eva must have noticed that he can't control his powers very well. Because of this, the captain endangered her and his people, and also caused great disasters in the South. Noel says sadly that all this is because he was born with one heart. Eva notes that dragons are usually born with two hearts and can control their powers. The captain says that he has become the cause of suffering for those around him. and fear consumes him more and more, the more valuable things he loses. The man can't stop thinking that all this could happen again. Many mages tried to help the young lord, but unfortunately, nothing worked. In the end, the only solution was for the captain to wear various restraining devices. Noel admits that the stronger he gets, the more difficult it is for him to control. And then it happened that the man met Eve, and when they touched each other, a sudden rush of all-consuming power enveloped him. Noel says that no one could control his power like she could, and in the end, he can only childishly ask her to stroke his hair. The captain says that only from her touch can he feel such a rare cold for him. To sum it up, the man says that this is why he did not object to what his sister said. Looking into his cup, Noel realizes that he didn't dare admit how much he enjoyed Eva's hug. The captain says he's causing trouble, but Eva smiles and replies that he can explain himself to that guy. Now the girl understands everything and is happy that her power, which she considered useless, can benefit Noel. In the book, Eva was a minor character who disappeared from the plot quite quickly. The girl thinks that she cannot agree to help Noel only because of his slight sympathy towards her. Now that Rachel's memories have returned, she may well return home to the south. Eva herself must think about how she and her brother can get into the human world before it becomes even more difficult. The only thing she can do for Noel is hope that he finds his soulmate. Hopper is shivering violently and is indignant at how damn cold it is up north. It was very careless of the butler not to think about the weather conditions in these parts. The man is angry that the damn wolves live in such damn cold. Hopper shakes his hand, trying to start a fire, but because he is frozen, he is unable to do so. The butler can't believe that the captain's chosen one lives in such a place. She must have used some kind of cunning trick. Suddenly, a boy comes up to the butler and asks if he is cold. Zion looks at the man kindly, and he doesn't understand where this child came from. The butler irritably asks the boy to go about his business, but Zion assures him that the man looks frozen. The boy kindly says that he will give the stranger his warm scarf. Hopper tries to assure him that he doesn't feel the cold, but when he picks up the scarf, he notices how warm it is. Zion says that he chased a kitten and, without realizing it, got lost. The butler laughs and says that the little rascal gave him the scarf only so that he could help him find his sister. Zion says, offended, that even if he hadn't gotten lost, he would have still offered the scarf. The boy says that according to his sister, if you treat people kindly, then one day it will be rewarded. Hopper never expected to meet such a kind child in the north. The man understands that even if the child is a wolf, he will not abandon him until they find his sister. Suddenly, an irritated voice is heard, and the girl asks how many times she told Zion not to go alone. Suddenly, Hopper notices none other than the captain himself peeking out from behind the girl. The man presses himself against the wall, not understanding where Noel came from. And then it dawns on him. The butler asks the boy if this is the sister who taught him kindness. The man understands that in front of him is the girl Carmel was talking about, and she simply cannot be a wolf. Hopper notices how the captain and mistress are looking at him intently and understands that this will not lead to anything good. The man thanks the boy for his kindness and says that such an act deserves a reward. Hopper returns the scarf to Zion and says that his reward will come soon. As he leaves, Hopper presses his hand to his heart and says that he no longer feels cold. Looking after the man as he leaves, Eva notices that he is very strange. Rachel muses that Hopper seems to have taken a liking to Zion. Eva walks with a bag of groceries and reflects that despite searching for Zion, they managed to do everything they planned. Remembering her conversation with Noel, the girl wonders whether she should simply ignore his words. Suddenly, Eva hears words coming from around the corner. Men are clearly threatening someone. The unfortunate half-breed insists that she was never seen by anyone and did not cause any trouble, so she does not understand why she is being persecuted. Peeking around the corner, Eva hears a girl asking why only half-breeds are arrested. and interrogated. One of the boys states that she was the reason they were in trouble, with half-breeds sneaking into the human world and jeopardizing the wolf's reputation. Raising his hand, the wolf declares that his blood boils at the thought that the damned humans could despise them. Suddenly, a man standing slightly behind orders the guy to stop. The man approaches the girl and says that if she cooperates, she and her brother will be safe. The wolf asks her if she knows the sister and brother who have white hair and rare blue eyes. Suddenly, the men hear some noise behind them and, turning around, notice that there is an apple lying on the ground. Eva realizes with horror that it was about them, but they have been living in seclusion for a long time. The girl begins to tremble with fear, deciding that they need to leave the north. Arriving home, Eva rummages through the books, wondering if they can move to another place without obtaining special permission. Noel enters the house with the children and happily notices that Eva returned home before them. The girl absent-mindedly says that she needed to find something in the books. Noticing the title of the books, Rachel directly asks if her sister is going to move to the human world. Eva denies it, but the girl says she shouldn't hide such information from them. The girl doesn't understand how Rachel found out everything. Maybe they also know that she and Zion are wolves. The girl throws herself into Eva's arms and says that she understands how difficult it must be in a foreign land, and asks if she will go with her. Eva notices that Rachel's memory has returned, but Rachel insists that her memories are blurry, so she is not sure if she remembers everything correctly. Looking at her brother, the girl says that, according to him, there is a passage in the south that leads to the human world. Noel replies that they signed an agreement and built a passage to make it easier for residents to travel. Eva realizes with relief that, according to the dragons, an illegal way to emigrate does exist. But can the girl be sure that the South is safe for them? Because they dragons do not yet know who they are, but sooner or later, the truth will come out. Noel takes her hands and asks if she will do him the honor of escorting her and Sion to the human world. The captain assures that he will not allow others to spread gossip related to the North and will protect them from all adversity. Eva thanks the guests for their kindness and asks if all this will not be a burden to them. The man says that he will take advantage of the situation and take Rachel south, and that will be enough for him. The girl happily says that on the way they can all visit their palace together. Leaning against the boy, Rachel says she wants to see Zion for as long as possible. With confusion in her heart, Eva understands that this is her last chance. If she continues to doubt, the only way to the south will close. If they all see each other less often, they will eventually become strangers to each other. Children quickly forget everything. Rachel stares at Eva and thinks that she will never let her go to the human world. The girl thinks that very soon the girl will become her relative. Rachel will make Eva fall in love with the South and forget about everything else. The servant reports to the captain that he has brought the man he wanted to see. The tied man is thrown to his knees, and the captain thoughtfully says that this means this is the herbalist. The doctor says he bought the herb from a merchant because it is good for immunity. The man says he is pleased with the doctor's dedication, so he will give him a chance to start over. Suddenly, the captain declares that, according to his information, in front of him is not only a doctor, but also a distributor. The man insists that the doctor was driven to everything by need, and throwing a bag of gold in front of him, orders him to tell everything about the merchant. The doctor says that the merchant pretended to be a man, but he is sure that it was a girl in front of him. The man adds that he thinks the girl had white hair. The servant notices that this testimony is similar to the businessman's testimony, which means that it is the same person. Captain Edmund states that the man they are looking for is suspected of assisting in illegal immigration. The doctor hears with horror that he himself is one of those who assisted her in this crime. The prisoner is taken away, and the captain says with a grin that ignorance is no excuse. Edmund looks at Eva's portrait and says that now he can finally help her. Noel says there are some formalities to sort out before moving in, but it won't take long. As he leaves, the man says that he will be back soon, and Eva replies that she will wait for him. Looking at the dragon's trail, Eva hopes that if she gets out of the north, she will be able to live independently. Remembering Noel's face, the girl feels such lightness for the first time in her life. Suddenly, the girl thinks that she is very stupid because she can't even take care of herself, let alone others. If Noel ever meets his destiny, he will most likely no longer need her powers. While they are getting to the human world, Eva will have to help the captain at his first request. The servant asks Edmund if he will go to today's investigation. The man nods affirmatively. Edmund says this is his first job as captain, and he must take responsibility for its execution. The captain says that since they are going outside, they should first look in that place. Suddenly, the door to the room bursts open with a bang, and a servant runs in, saying that he has urgent news. The butler scolds the servant for such disrespectful behavior, but Edmund orders him not to make a mountain out of a molehill. The servant asks for forgiveness and remarks that he would not disturb the captain for no reason. The young man hands Edmund a tray and announces that a letter has arrived from the dragon captain. Captain Noel reports that he intends to visit the forests in the north in 3 days, but asks not to arrange a reception, and also provides the coordinates. The servant declares that it is unacceptable to address the captain of the north in this way. It is complete disrespect. Edmund agrees and says that the refusal of a welcoming ceremony looks very suspicious. Edmund remarks that it would be very interesting to see with his own eyes what the damned dragon wants here. The children say that they have collected all their things and are now going for a walk. Looking at the empty rooms, Eva thinks that she won't need many things to start with, and the rest they can buy in the human world. Suddenly, the girl hears Zion's surprised cry and immediately runs out into the street. The children and Eva watch in great amazement as the sky above them is covered by a horde of dragons. Noel lands in front of the girl and says that he has come to take them away. The man apologizes for the sudden visit, and Eva asks who all these people are. The captain says that these are his most trusted people, and they will help them get to the south as quickly as possible. Noel says that the preparations must have tired the girl out, suggests that she take a rest with the children, and they will finish everything themselves. Zion approaches Eve and asks if this means they will be leaving the north today. The girl asks if the boy will miss her, and he admits that as long as his sister is with him, he doesn't care at all where they are. The girl kisses the boy tenderly and says that very soon they will move to a warm place that he will really like. One of the dragons says, with tears in his eyes, that he had no idea what North was like, but it looks amazing. Suddenly, the dragons begin to discuss why the captain's companion lives in the deep forest and that their wedding should take place in the south. The girl has no idea where this rumor came from, but she needs to somehow explain the situation to them. Suddenly, everyone hears a contemptuous voice saying that he was very curious about what the dragon had forgotten in the north. Edmund notes that it is now clear that responsibility for illegal migration lies in the south. The captain asks if Noel really expected to fool him by giving false coordinates. Edmund asks why the dragon is taking the people of the north to the south. Does he really plan to get information from them? The man notices that he never thought Noel would resort to such a method. Suddenly, Edmund freezes, seeing Eva standing nearby, amazed. After examining the girl, the captain realizes that it really is Eva in front of him, and says that he has finally found her. Noel, in a rage, grabs Edmund by the arm, and Edmund demands that he let him go immediately. Eva asks what the man needs here, since they were already living in isolation, just as he wanted. The girl screams in rage, demanding that the captain finally leave them alone. Edmund asks why Eva is angry, and she replies that it was he who told them to get out. The captain coldly says that, as he expected, it is Eva and her brother who are going to move to the human world. The girl shudders when she realizes that it was Edmund who had been looking for her and Zion all this time. When asked what he needs, the man replies that he has missed her all this time. Edmund asks Eva for what service the Southerners agreed to organize the crossing for her. The captain assures that he has changed a lot over the past time, and now he has the strength to take the girl under his wing. Noel interrupts the fiery speech and states that there must be some mistake. The captain of the South declares that Eva is not moving to the human world, but is going south with him. Edmund starts laughing and says that this is complete nonsense. How can Noel know that Eva is not going to run away? Eva calmly says that she doesn't care at all whether Edmund has changed or not, but she doesn't want to stay in the North any longer. The girl asks Edmund if he were in her place, would he want to continue living in restrictions? The captain, to Eva's surprise, states that he worked himself to the point of unconsciousness to get the position because he knew the girl had suffered enough from racism. The girl is afraid that Edmund will now tell that she and Zion are half-bloods, and then the dragons will find out about everything. Suddenly, Carmel and Rachel appear from the bushes and say that they have finally arrived. The young man greets Eva, but suddenly notices that the atmosphere around him is somehow strange. Edmund looks at Eva in shock and asks if she is really the life partner of the captain of the South. The girl turns around decisively and provocatively replies that everything is exactly like that. As she passes Noel, the girl whispers to him that she is sorry for what she had to say. Eva assures that as soon as they are in the South, she will explain everything to everyone. But now this is the only way to get rid of Edmund. The man hugs the girl tightly, calls her his beloved, and says that it is time for them to go. Edmund, in desperation, orders the dragons to stop immediately. The man shouts that Eva can't even imagine how dangerous dragons can be. Eva furiously declares that Edmund is more vile because he is the one who made her life miserable. The man looks after the dragons in despair, realizing that he has lost her again. The man thinks that now, unfortunately, he cannot protect his beloved. His father, a former captain of the North, always taught his son that half-breeds are not wolves. Everyone around Edmund belittled half-bloods, which is why he did the same. However, when his gaze first met Eva's, he couldn't help but be enchanted by her. At that moment, the boy was too young to understand that he had become attached to Eve and was tormented by guilt for his feelings for a half-breed. But even so, he has no forgiveness for what he did, and from that moment on, he lived in doubt. On the way home, Edmund decided that he should quickly grow up and become a captain. Only by gaining strength could he make sure that no one could hurt Eve again. He would definitely do everything to ensure that she was under his protection. The captain orders the servants to return, and they ask in bewilderment whether they should not go after the dragons. Edmund says there is no point in trying to catch those who can fly. The man orders a pair of smart and trusted subordinates to be selected and secretly sent south. As Edmund pulls up his hood, he muses that Eva has impure blood, which is why her powers could get out of control. The captain fears that the dragons may take advantage of the girl's weakness in order to brainwash her. All Edmund can do in this situation is continue to look for the girl. Eva looks around in amazement and thinks that they are finally flying south. The girl notes that life is full of surprises, since she never thought that she would go south of her own free will. Noel says that they are almost there and invites the girl to look at the beautiful view from below. The captain hopes that Eva will only have happy memories before she goes to the human world. Looking at the man, the girl understands that he is very kind, but will he remain the same if he finds out that she is a half-breed? Suddenly, Rachel, sitting behind her, says that what Eva is thinking will never happen. The girl laughs and says that the dragons will not let her fall, which she is very afraid of. Eva begins to look around the area, enjoying the stunning view. The girl remembers how her mother told her that dragons are not as scary as they might seem at first glance. The girl looks at her mother in amazement and asks if she really met dragons. Upon learning that her mother had not met them, Eva states that in that case, she cannot know anything. The woman strokes her daughter's head and says what her great-grandmother told her. Mother says that in fact, Dragons are not scary, but very kind. Eva says that all this was a long time ago. But the woman laughs and says that the rumor that dragons are gentle has reached their time. Therefore, says the mother, if her daughter meets a dragon, she should be kinder. The girl extends her hand and asks Noel to hold her and Zion so that they don't fall. The captain happily extends his hand and assures them that he can take care of them. The Northerners look around in amazement, and Zion asks her sister if they have really gone to heaven. The girl had imagined the South completely differently. She couldn't believe that there were so many flowering plants here. Zion looks at the butterfly in surprise, which he had only seen in books before. Suddenly, Zion bumps into someone and asks for forgiveness. And the man notices that the boy knows how to apologize and take responsibility. Hopper gently pats Zion on the head and asks if he's been doing well. Looking at the brother and sister, the butler notices that last time he was unable to greet them properly. The man introduces himself and says that it is late, but he asks to accept his gratitude for help. Eva recalls that in the novel Hopper was a versatile person, but he couldn't stand wolves. The butler states that if the girl needs anything, she must tell him about it. Eva says that if that is the case, then she would like to receive a book in the form of a scroll, which is only found in the South. Eva is upset to hear that they have a library of scrolls, but it will be difficult to get into now. Hopper signals to the maids, noting that the road must have been difficult. The butler suggests that Eva change into lighter clothes that are more suitable for the South. After some time, the butler informs that the captain has gone on business, and he invites the girl to explore the castle. Eva sincerely thanks the servant. Even though she is a stranger here, they treat her very well. Hopper looks at the girl in surprise and says that it cannot be otherwise, since she is the captain's life partner. The girl lowers her head and asks the butler to call her simply by her first name. Hopper says he won't allow such tactlessness, but Eva insists that she would be much more comfortable that way. The butler asks what exactly the girl would like to find in the library. Perhaps he can help her. Eva says that in the North, she couldn't find any books about the history of the South. The girl admits that she would like to read The Legend of Dragons in order to help Noel. Hopper assures that it is enough for the captain to have the girl by his side, but knowing history is also good, so he takes her there. Eva thinks that she needs to be careful. If she is discovered, Zion will be in danger. Sitting in the library, Eva opens a book, intending to learn the history of the southern continent. Dragons, whose lives are close to immortality, descended into this world, but could not get used to the new environment. But with the help of their wisdom and the Red Dragon, they managed to settle safely in the South. The Red Dragon became the head of the clan. He had a kind heart and took the weak under his wing. But in the meantime, some people and wolves mistakenly decided that dragons had taken over the South. During one of the skirmishes, the clan's leader was wounded after falling for the human's evil trick. The wolf stole his heart, and the leader could not cope with the excess of his power with just one heart, and his situation was deplorable. The dragons went north to get the heart back, but they failed to find the wolf, and eventually the leader died, and a war broke out between the North and the South. The whole country was destroyed. The war ended thanks to the intervention of the head of the mermaids and the head of the lions. After the announcement that the wolf had sold its heart to a dragon hunter, a second war broke out between the South and the human world. Because of all these events, the world of people and animals was divided, and it became impossible to restore good relations between the North and the South. Eva looks tiredly at the huge stack of books and realizes that she hasn't found any clues. With her head on the table, the girl wonders if the Eva in the book could have influenced Noel's heat because she was a wolf with that heart. Although this is hardly possible, because then she would not have died from Rachel's fire. The more the girl thinks about all this, the more confused she becomes. Rachel enters the room and says that Zion has had a very busy day today. Looking at her sleeping sister, the girl notices that she is also very tired. Looking at Eva, the girl thinks that she should be taken to the newlyweds' quarters. Eva has a dream in which she is playing and her father is standing next to her and reading a book. The man happily shows his daughter the flower and says that it was created by magic. The girl starts to swear and notices that she needs to quickly gather the herbs because she is already frozen. Suddenly, the girl notices with amazement that the snow, which had been falling for a very long time, suddenly stopped. Eva turns to her father and asks if he really has such an ability. The girl sits up in bed, clutches her head, and wonders if she has fallen asleep. Eva looks around in amazement, not understanding where she is and why she is wearing different clothes. The girl jumps up and starts calling loudly for Rachel and Zion. Eva freezes abruptly when she hears a voice that says, "The children are in the other room." Noel looks at Eva with a smile and asks if she slept well. The girl asks in amazement why the captain is here, to which he calmly replies that these are his quarters. Eva, confused, asks for forgiveness and says that she will leave right now, but the man assures that everything is fine. Eva is surprised to hear that everyone in the palace considers her to be Noel's companion, which is why he has not prepared separate chambers for her. Standing up, the captain notes that if this is inconvenient for the guest, then he will leave immediately. Suddenly, the man swayed and, to Eva's worried look, replied that everything was fine. He just had a slight fever. The girl takes Noel by the hand, sits him back down, and asks permission to examine him. Eva notices that upon returning to the south, the captain worked a lot and did not rest at all. Noel is very embarrassed, blushes, but assures that he is glad that the girl is now with him. Eva feels the captain's forehead and asks if he is definitely okay, because his temperature is clearly rising. The man becomes even more embarrassed and admits that he blushed not because of the temperature. Suddenly, Noel says that it might be a temperature issue, and would the girl allow him to hug her in that case? Without waiting for an answer, the captain lays his head on Eva's shoulder and admits that when she is around, his thoughts become confused. The girl doesn't pull away and tries to convince herself that this is just a hug that will make Noel feel better. Suddenly, Eva freezes as she feels the man's heart beating hard. Noel flinches when the girl asks permission to ask him one question. Having made up her mind, Eva asks if the captain wasn't curious about why she lives in the north, but not in the form of a beast. Looking at the man, Eva wonders if he will like her when he finds out that she is a half-breed. Seeing Noel's expression, the girl realizes that her question has surprised him greatly. Playing back, Eva says that she is too tired and she shouldn't have asked such a question. Trying to get out of bed, the girl steps on her robe and slips, falling right onto the captain. Embarrassed, Eva assures that it was an accident and she will get up right away. Suddenly, the man hugs her tightly and says that she is right. He is indeed curious. Noel states that he would like to know absolutely everything about his mysterious guest. Continuing to hug Eva, the captain notes that if she wants to hide something from him, he will not force her. The girl is surprised to hear that, no matter what, the captain's feelings for her will not change. Eva says she enjoyed spending time with her father, who could control ice. Noel listens with interest to how sometimes the girl's father's spells did not work and the snow began to melt. Noel smiled calmly and listened to Eva's stories until he fell asleep. Although the girl could not admit that she was a half-breed, the captain's smile seemed to say that he would accept her in any case. Rachel shows Phoenix one of the forms and asks him to tell her that this maid will be working for her sister. Zion rubs her eyes tiredly and asks why the girl still isn't sleeping. The boy is frightened when Rachel notices with a smile that he has ears and a tail again. Rachel says that she is very worried about her brother. That is why she does not sleep. He should hide his peculiarities more carefully. Zion asks about Eve, and the girl replies that she is already in her chambers, and from now on, Zion will have his own room. The boy says he has always slept with his sister, but Rachel insists that it is time for him to learn to sleep alone. The girl notes that if Zion wants to grow up quickly, he will have to follow the rules. Rachel gives her brother a piece of paper and asks him to write down the first rule. He must not go to his sister's house at night. Suddenly, Zion starts crying and says that he can't sleep alone because he's scared in the dark. Rachel states the second rule, saying that if her brother is scared, he can come to her room across the hall. Ava opens her eyes and, stretching, notices with surprise that it is already morning. Noticing Noel, the girl jumps up in fright, and he notices with a smile that Eva has woken up. The captain, relaxed in bed and stunningly handsome, asks her affectionately if she slept well. The man hugs Eva and notices that in the mornings he always has a fever and needs her help. Noel says that he really enjoys the girl's hugs, but the girl is scared by how loudly he speaks. Eva flinches in fright as she hears something fall with a crash outside the door. The man notices that Eve's maid must have arrived and loudly invites them in. A young girl enters the room and says that her name is Julia and that she will now serve the mistress. Since the girl is a rabbit, her hearing is sharper than others, and she hopes that the little lady told Eva about this. A few minutes earlier, Julia stood in front of the door, worried about whether she would please her new owner. Suddenly, the girl hears the captain speaking affectionately to his companion. Julia, terrified that she shouldn't have heard such a personal conversation, claps her hands to her mouth, dropping the tray. The girl bows low to the lady and says that it will be an honor for her to serve her. Noel says that he will leave Eva with Julia and that they will see each other soon in the dining room. The captain asks Eva if she would like anything special for breakfast, but she replies that she is not fully awake yet and does not want to eat. Eva looks around the laden table in amazement, thinking that this isn't even lunch, it's a light breakfast. Noel asks the girl if the food is to her taste, and she, looking around the table, asks if she can get the recipe from the chef. Noticing that the girl has blushed, the captain asks why, but Eva replies that they will not talk about last night. Much to the girl's embarrassment, Noel says that she was very sweet and charming that night. The maids immediately cover their ears and say in unison that they heard nothing. Suddenly, Zion runs into the dining room, and Eva is relieved to know that she is saved. The boy looks at his sister with pride and says that yesterday he slept alone for the first time. The two young men bow their heads low in greeting to their mistress, and Zion says that these are his new friends. Rachel runs into the dining room out of breath and notices that Zion is running really fast. The girl throws herself into Eva's arms, saying that she has already missed her very much. The girls start chatting pleasantly, and Zion, standing nearby, notices that Rachel is cheating. The girl says she was afraid that without her sister, she would have nightmares, but the dreams were very beautiful. Zion jealously notes that everyone is having fun, but they have completely forgotten about him. Noel notes to himself that this is the first time he's seen Rachel smile so carefree since their parents left. Eva makes everyone around her happy, and that is exactly what the man has been waiting for. Doubts have disappeared completely, and Noel is confident that the girl will become his wife and will be with him for the rest of his life. Suddenly, the captain hears a strange voice in his head, asking if he really believes Eva. The man turns around abruptly, but sees only the servant, who anxiously asks if everything is okay. Noel tries to understand what kind of voice he heard, but out loud he assures that he was just thinking a little. The captain continues to think and has the feeling that he has heard this voice before. In the kitchen, the maids, led by Julia, are actively discussing the new mistress. The girl says that this morning the couple hugged very tightly. One of the women starts shouting that Julia should be ashamed for overhearing such things. Chef Maria turns sharply and asks who one has to be able to manipulate the captain so easily. Maria attacks the girls, saying that Julia has no place in the kitchen and that it's high time for the others to get back to work. Julia, leaving, angrily remarks that she is not such a talkative person. Maria looks at the remains of the food and thinks that the Northerners are very picky since there is so much left. Suddenly, one of the maids runs up to the cook and says that Maria is expected outside. The woman is surprised to learn that the butler Hopper himself is waiting for her on the street. The woman sarcastically asks if Hopper is going to praise her, to which he replies that he is absolutely right. The man assures that everyone liked Maria's food and praised it highly, but the woman asks why the gentleman did not finish so much. The chef is surprised to hear that Eva has a poor appetite due to adaptation, but she expressed a desire to come to the kitchen and learn from the chef. Maria looks away thoughtfully, thinking that she is starting to like her new mistress. In the forest, Edmund asks his companion how long it will take to get to the castle, to which he replies that there is half a day left. The captain of the North throws off his hood and happily says that he will see Eva again very soon. Noel is still very busy and apologizes to the girl for keeping her waiting. Zion is captivated by his new friends, and Rachel asks Eva to go with her. The girl takes her sister to one place and says that it is the highest place in the castle, and from here you can see the whole south. Rachel says this is her favorite place and suggests having a picnic. As Eva walks down the road, she notices a wonderful smell, and Julia says that it is Maria preparing the turkey for dinner. Suddenly, a man in a cloak jumps out of the bushes and grabs the girl by the hand. Edmund, and it was he, looked intently at Eva and said that he missed her very much. The captain touches the girl's face, and she screams and asks in bewilderment what he is doing here. An enraged Rachel summons a fiery phoenix and orders the man to get away from her sister. Dodging the fire, Edmund shouts that they have fooled the girl and that this is all disgusting and ridiculous. Rachel looks at the man in confusion, not understanding what he means. Suddenly, the captain attacks the girl with ice, and she, having received a blow to the back, falls to the ground. Rubbing his hands, the man declares that this little dragon is not yet able to comprehend its involvement in the rebellion. Edmund's companion notices with alarm that this is the sister of the head of the South, but the captain assures that she simply lost consciousness for a short time. Sitting down in front of Eva, the man says that the South is very dangerous and they should return home. Suddenly, Julia attacks Edmund from behind and screams at her mistress to run away as quickly as possible. The servant grabs the girl and throws her towards the boxes, which she hits her head on hard. Edmund orders the servant to clean up everything here, while he takes Eva away. The girl looks up at the captain with eyes full of rage and says that she will kill him. The man sighs loudly and remarks that the Southerners have really fooled her. Suddenly, Eva grabs the man by the throat and, calling on her magic, declares that no one has deceived her. Everything around is shrouded in icy fog, and Eva screams that Edmund is completely soulless. The servants who ran up looked at the clouds of dust in surprise and could not understand what had happened. The fog clears, and everyone looks in surprise at Mrs. Eva, who is examining her hand. The servants look at the girls and strangers lying on the ground and ask in horror what happened here. Some time later, Edmund opens his eyes with difficulty and realizes that he is tightly tied up. Eva asks the guards to leave them alone. If something goes wrong, he will call them. Looking at the captive, the girl says that it is high time for them to sort everything out. Eva asks why everything turned out this way, thinking that she didn't even try to explain the whole situation to Edmund. The girl used ice magic to kill him, but was thwarted by Ed's ability, and she feels like she's encountered something similar before. The guards slowly come out, announcing that they will stand right outside the door just in case. Sitting down in front of the captain, Eva says that this is the first time they have talked like this, because usually it was she who ran away from him. The girl asks why the man is pursuing her if he hates her so much, but he assures her that it is not so. With his head bowed low, the man asks for forgiveness for what he did when they were children. Edmund throws his head back and assures her that everything will change if the girl gives him a second chance. Eva interrupts her interlocutor and says that she doesn't want to. She doesn't need it at all. The girl says that even if every wolf begs her for forgiveness, she still will not return to the north. Eva remembers that for the sake of the half-breed, no one went to look for her father and did not come to the aid of her mother when she was dying. The girl asks if the captain is really so sorry to lose his toy, but the man tries to explain that he never thought about it that way. Edmund says that if Eve only wants it, he will bring to her all her offenders, including himself. The girl silently listens to Edmund's confession that he is ready to do anything for her. Eva says that Zion doesn't remember their parents and so often asked if they abandoned them. The sister insisted that the parents had to leave urgently, but that they would definitely return after 1,000 nights. Time passed, and the brother stopped asking about them and stopped counting the nights. Eva sadly says that Zion realized too early that his parents were no longer in their world. The girl says that if Edmund is ready to do anything for her, then let him try to return their parents to them. The man hangs his head low and says that he is very sorry, but it is too late. As she leaves, Eva says that if Edmund is truly sorry, he will forget about her and never show his face to her again. Leaving the prison building, the girl is surprised to notice Rachel standing at the entrance. Eva anxiously feels the girl and asks how she feels. Rachel looks away sadly and quietly replies that she is fine. Suddenly, a voice is heard, and the lady is joyfully greeted by Julia, with a bandage on her head. The girl begins to bombard Eva with questions and stories about how scared she was. Turning around, the girl notices with surprise that Rachel has disappeared without a trace. Having received belated news of what had happened, the dragons were furious. Now they had a good reason to destroy the North. But, to Noel's great surprise, Rachel stopped them, convincing them not to attack the North. Ed disappeared before they could come for him, leaving behind a handwritten note of apology. Eva wandered around the castle for a long time, wondering why Rachel stopped the dragons. The girl wanted to carefully ask the girl this question, but for some reason she was behaving strangely. Julia soon returned to work, stating that she had been well treated and was terribly bored lying around. Pointing to a cute cat, the maid says that he often visits them and she feeds him. The girl says that she doesn't know if the cat is a beast man, but even if he is very cute. Julia asks the lady not to tell anyone about this, but noticing the strange expression on her face, asks if she really said something wrong. Looking at Eva, the maid thinks that she might be tired of the daily routine, or that she might be homesick. A moment later, Julia shows the lady the glasses and the bottle of wine she took from the supplies. The maid assures that when there are too many thoughts, the best thing to help with this is drinking. While examining the scene, Noel sees no traces of magic and cannot understand how Eva was able to resist a purebred wolf. The captain remembers their first meeting. The girl's strength is not so strong, and sometimes the spell quickly dissipates. Thinking about it, Noel orders Hopper to prepare a secret letter. Turning around, the captain asks to indicate the King of Men as the recipient. A servant comes up and apologizes for disturbing him, but a small problem has arisen. Noel is surprised to hear that his companion is the cause of the problem. Some time ago, Julia organized a picnic, insisting that when drinking alcohol, it is important to choose the right place. The maid winces when her mistress asks what the girl would do if she knew she would be killed. The girl says thoughtfully that in such a situation, most ordinary people would prefer to hide. Eva sadly realizes that everything is right, and she needs to leave as soon as possible. Julia tries to open the bottle and assures that she personally would definitely try to fight in such a situation. The girl insists that running away from fate is not a solution to the problem. While pouring wine, the maid says that one must look fate in the face so as not to regret anything later. Julia watches in amazement as the lady drinks an entire glass of wine in one gulp. Having caught her breath, Eva thanks the girl for the wonderful advice, which she liked. The girl wonders why she always thought only about how to avoid fate. If she leaves with Zion, then Noel and Rachel will face the tragedy that is supposed to happen according to the plot of the novel. Eva realizes that she wants a different future for them because they have become truly dear to her. Suddenly, Maria appears in front of the girls, and at that very moment, the cute cat angrily attacks her. The woman looms over the girls menacingly and says that now it is clear where the wine disappeared to. The cook grabs Julia by the ears, scolding her, and the maid asks if the lady liked the wine. Suddenly, Maria is surprised to hear Eva say that the wine is simply magnificent. She doesn't know who made it, but he is clearly an expert. Having dismissed Julia, the cook says that if the lady wishes, she will bring a better drink and organize suitable snacks. Leading Noel to the picnic spot, the servant notices that his companion is quite drunk. The girl tells the servants the plot of a very popular novel in the modern world. The girls and boys listen to the lady in amazement and eagerly ask what happened next. The girl assures that now they are all friends, and the servants do not need to address her formally. They can simply call her Eva. Suddenly, Eva turns her head and happily notices that Noel has come to them. Seeing how the girl drinks the drink with such pleasure, the captain wonders who got her so drunk. Maria says that the lady liked the prepared wine, and so she happily treated her, but everything got out of control. At this point, Eva hugs the cook tightly and tells Noel not to dare blame her Maria. The girl states that it is very difficult to cook, and they are obliged to eat everything that Maria has prepared. Eva turns to the servants and says that she would be happy to have another glass. The captain grabs the girl by the hand, takes away the mug, and remarks that drinking a lot is bad for your health. Eva presses herself tightly against the man, noticing how amazingly warm he is. Seeing the girl's eyes closing, Noel says that she has had too much to drink, and it is time for her to return to her room. Suddenly, all the servants flinch when they notice the tail appearing. Seeing that in addition to the tail, the girl also has ears, the servants are surprised to realize that they are looking at a she-wolf. Noel abruptly orders everyone to be quiet and states that he will announce later what they all just saw. The man says that if someone does this before him, they will answer with their head. The girl looks around in surprise, and the captain says that in order to avoid catching a cold, he decided to bring the girl into the bedroom. Eva says quite happily that since Noel brought her, everything is of course fine. Eva, still not hiding her ears, mutters that she has one big secret. The girl says that the man might be very surprised, so it's worth lifting the curtain of secrecy a little. Eva sits up in bed and asks if Noel could move closer to her. In the morning, the girl sits up and cannot remember how she ended up in the captain's bedroom. Eva grabs her head and realizes that her head is simply splitting. How much she drank yesterday. Noel comes to the bed and says he brought some tea for a hangover. Taking the cup, Eva notices that the captain looks tired and wonders what she did yesterday. The girl doesn't remember anything at all, but since she's still alive, it means she wasn't caught being a wolf. Eva notices that she is feeling better. It must be the tea that has had a beneficial effect. The girl thinks that the man is talking as usual. Perhaps his fatigue is not related to her. Eva reaches for the tray, but with an awkward jerk of her hand, she flips it over onto the bed. The girl wants to touch Noel, fearing that he might get burned. But to Eva's great surprise, the man suddenly pulls his hand away, not allowing her to touch him. The captain sighs, apologizes, and says he was just a little surprised. Noel stands up abruptly and declares that he will inform the maid that the sheets need to be changed. Eva looks after the captain, not understanding why he suddenly started avoiding her. Over the next week, the girl couldn't even talk to Noel, and they only saw each other briefly occasionally. Judging by the expressions on the servants' faces, Eva comes to the conclusion that they still haven't revealed her essence. One day, the girl couldn't stand it any longer and asked Julia to answer one question. The maid freezes when her mistress asks what she did that day when she got drunk. Julia looks away in embarrassment, assuring that nothing at all happened. Realizing that the maid is deceiving her, the girl irritably orders her to tell her the truth. That night, Rachel, having learned about what had happened, came to her brother, who said that Eva was unlikely to remember everything. The girl claims that this is not why they pretended not to know anything. From the very beginning, the girl didn't care that Eva was a she-wolf, and that, because of their position in society, not a single soul would dare to speak out against it. The brother looks at his sister and confidently says that they can still keep everything a secret. Through Phoenix, Noel calls Hopper and orders everyone who witnessed the incident to keep their mouths shut. The butler informs the servants that anyone who breaks the order must be prepared to bear responsibility. Julia, devoted to her mistress, declares that she is simply Mistress Eva, nothing more. Carmel supports the maid and says that she has never seen the captain so happy before. Hopper tells Maria with a grin that he expected a negative reaction, but everyone is crazy about Mistress Eva. Lying on a tree, the cat washes his paw and thinks that the dragon's companion is a she-wolf. And this is very valuable information.